WIBC HD2 W298BB, WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis.
The officials didn't call it, so I don't know if my mic is on, but at the end of the day, Boo made a hell of a shot. You got to give them credit. They get us down 19. You can't spot a team at home 19. Expect to win all the time. And I thought we fought hard in the second half to get back in it. So I applaud our team. But we got up to such a rocky start, on the road. And I thought we were too hyped, pumped for the game, and I just didn't see the comfort to start in this ball game.
Vucevic, right wing, back to the goal. The defender is Nesmith. Vucevic has a size advantage. He uses it to hook one up from the baseline. It's rebounded by Turner. The Pacers down 3. Here comes Halliburton. Near corner Hield, driving baseline. Outside Turner, on top Nesmith, left edge. Here's Hield, and he just set a single-season Pacer record for three-point field goals, breaking Reggie Miller's that had stood for over 20 years, and he's tied the game at 106.
It's the new NBA, man. You shoot threes and shoot for you at a high level. One thing is this year, instead of just getting up threes, I'm shooting at a high clip. So, but passing a legend like Reggie, in Indiana shows a testament of my hard work, dedication game, and my teammates finding me in the right other spots. People say quote unquote, you can't do it with my teammates. Yeah, my teammates find me a lot. But me moving, passing, replacing, trying to find ways to get up, and still without them finding me, I couldn't do it without them. But it's a great accomplishment. But we just gotta keep building and see how far I can go with it.
I just want to watch the three-point contest. I want to see him and Ty in the finals. That's my short-term dream. But Buddy is going to go down as a historically great three-point shooter in this league. And passing Reggie Miller for the single-season mark with 22 games to go is a strong statement. And I know if Reggie was here, he would congratulate Buddy, because Reggie's that kind of a stand-up guy, and he really appreciates specialization and greatness, in the area of specialization when it comes to shooting. So, congratulations to Buddy.
Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in here today. Brian Noe alongside Jimmy Cook. I got a little bit nervous there, Jimmy, for a second, with Rick Carlisle said if Reggie were here. I'm like, is Reggie gone? Did Reggie die?
I had the same thought. It crossed my mind as well, yes.
No, Reggie's still kicking. He's just not physically here to self-congratulate Buddy Hield. But we got IU coming up a little short last night, Jimmy. We do have good news with the Pacers finally winning a game. Buddy Hield passing Reggie Miller. We'll get to that, but I don't know about you. I like a little friction over here, Jimmy. I like a little, I like a little edge with my sports radio. And you, short of banging the table this morning, you walked in, kind of like burst through the door and said, I got an issue with officiating over here. The IU Northwestern game, so IU comes up a little bit short. Boo Booey does his thing down the stretch, gets a clutch basket in the final seconds, and IU loses by 2 points. And you don't like the officiating in that game.
Look, there's two things with that. I'm not going to lose the hostility, but I want to preface it because most of our listeners know I'm an IU alum. Uh-huh. Yes, I'm a bit salty today. Yes, I did not think that IU was going to go to Northwestern, even though they've won 4 or 5 straight now against ranked opponents, or maybe not in a row, but they've done victories over top 25 teams they've never done in their program's history. Prior to tonight, they're a great team, all that fun stuff. The way that game was officiated, the way the Purdue game was officiated the night before, and the level of physicality that you see on a nightly basis in the Big Ten is great. It's nothing new. It's been going on for the last 25 years. And we had the same issue happen in the Super Bowl this past Sunday.
Oh, man.
When you had holding called on Bradbury and Smith-Schuster going for a route, and people were mad because they didn't call it that the whole game, and they called it there. And the main issue is, well, you can't let the game be decided by that. Well, the other option is when a blatant push-off happens with 6 seconds to go on the drive by Boo Booey, we can't just pretend like people are going to, he pulled a baseball bat out and hit his kneecaps, but it's the last 2 minutes, so let's swallow the whistle.
Remind me how long the show is? How long is it?
3 hours.
3 hours. Can we carve out 2 hours and 10 minutes about the holding penalty in the Super Bowl. But listen, I'm with you. I think officiating is like the speed limit. Okay? I think that calling fouls is like the speed limit, where there are some places where it's a little relaxed. The Big Ten, they let you get away with a lot of stuff. If you go out on the highway, some cops let you get away with going 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. A cop pulled me over and was like, this is a long time ago, he's like, you were going a 72 and a 65. And I looked at him like, so?
Yes, thank you.
Thankfully,
he had a compliment.
He had something else more pressing, and he left and did that. But the point is, depending on where you're at, if it's the Big Ten, might let you get away with a little bit more. And then all of a sudden, tournament time.
That's the larger issue.
When you're used to less restrictions and they're calling ticky-tack fouls, that changes the math real quickly.
We can save this as a terrible take, and Eddie, you can save it as well when Northwestern winds up being a second weekend team and I look like a fool, but I'm going to steer into this skid anyway. When they lose in the first weekend of the tournament because they were at the bonus at the under 12 media timeout, you wonder this every year. Why does the Big Ten always struggle? And again, I know there's sometime ACC officials on Big Ten games. I know it's not always Big Ten officials, but the way the game is officiated and called, to your point and to my point on Twitter last night, you can follow on Twitter at the JCook, by the way, is that it's just such a big paradigm shift for these Big Ten teams. And it's not the only reason, but it's a large reason why you see them falter year after year, because they're allowed to pound each other to a pulp in conference. And then you get into play and it's like, oh, suddenly it's guard friendly. Suddenly we're gonna be more. And on that one, that is an offensive player committing a push off at the end of the Northwestern IU game last night to get separation. They were doing it all night, so they weren't calling it. So if you're one of those who's like, oh, well, they were consistent all night. Yes, they were consistently bad at missing one call.
I have many questions for you.
By all means.
Here, Jimmy Cook. First question is, I'm going to hook you to the lie detector test in a second, but first question is, do you think with certainty, if it's the NCAA tournament, Boo Booey does the same thing, is that an offensive foul?
With certainty, I feel like I'll say no, because I feel like at the college level, they often do swallow the whistles, which drives me nuts. Both can be true. I can agree with you that maybe that doesn't get called, but it should. It should get called on a Wednesday night in the Big Ten, and it should get called on a Friday night the first weekend of the tournament. It stinks. It's awful that you're putting that on a kid in that situation, but you have a job as a referee with a whistle. It's not a decorative piece. Mm-hmm. You cannot let a season be ended because somebody extended a forearm for clear separation nearly at Trey Galloway's groin to get separation there and be like, oh, it's a game winner. And no one said a word about it. Hummel didn't say a word about it. It was never mentioned on the broadcast. Of course, Collins isn't going to say anything about it because his team just beat a ranked team. I don't blame him. I'm not going to be like, oh, we got away with one there. But yeah, no one acknowledged that whatsoever on the broadcast. Even when they showed the replay of the drive, like, oh, that's just a great play by Boo Booey. Yeah, I agree. He shoved Galloway into, I don't know, the Chicago River, basically. I understand that Everson is further away than that.
Lake
but you get
Michigan?
my point. Yeah. He pushed him over 2 counties. So
okay, question 2 here, and this is the lie detector test part of it.
Okay. I thought that one was it. So, no. I was honest on that
This
answer.
is the true lie detector test.
Okay.
But in complete transparency, total honesty, and we're not going to, throw stones at you or anything like that. If what you're advocating for, if the Big Ten says, you know what, we're listening to Jimmy Cook on the live stream over here.
Sure.
Jimmy Cook's got a
naturally they're tuned in.
Yes. Yeah. Let's do this. Let's officiate more so in Big Ten play the way it is officiated when the NCAA tournament rolls around. How often are you aggravated by ticky-tack calls routinely being whistled?
On a nightly basis, if it's stopping the flow of play, and I think there's a fine line there. I'm not trying to be like fully political with this answer, but there is a difference between, oh, you could call a foul like that every single play, and what Boo Booey did to end the game last night. Yeah. Like, yes, there is natural separation and more freedom allowed to offensive players, particularly guards, not just the college level, but the NBA level across the board. It's an offensive-driven league. I'm not saying that I want this to be just defensive stoutness and teams are in the bonus by the time that it's, like I joked about earlier, the under 10 or under 12. But there's a difference between stopping flow and blatant actions. Like I think and that is the imperfect human element of being an official. You can't get it right every time. That's why they missed them most of the night. That one felt pretty blatant to me.
You know what? I'll marry the two conversations together real fast, and we'll go right over to the Pacers and Buddy Hield. But if we're talking about the Super Bowl, if we're talking about IU last night, the thing that will drive me insane, Jimmy Cook, okay, is to say, well, if IU doesn't score just 20 points in the first half, then you don't even have to worry about that. Like, you can play that game with both teams. I heard that with the Eagles. Well, if you don't allow Mahomes and the Chiefs to score all these second half points, it's like it came down to that play for both teams. You could play that game with the Chiefs.
Correct.
You could play that game with Northwestern. If Northwestern doesn't allow 42 second half points, it doesn't come down to a last-second shot by Boo Boo. That is what drives me insane. Is it came down to that for both teams?
Yes.
And don't just look at one team and say, you handle your business, don't cry to me about officiating. You can play the same game with the other team all day.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, because someone hit me with, and they were right, and it was a Purdue fan. I will say that. It was no one in this building. It was just somebody on Twitter. They were like, oh, well, what about Trace Jackson Davis's goaltend? And that's fair. That was a goaltend. But also, Northwestern got 4 free throws in the ball because they missed a blatant travel, and Rosemont and Woodson both got teed up, and because the guy was wrong, and they dished out technicals because of it. So yes, you can play that game all the time, but my larger issue, even though I'm an IU alum, is objectively speaking, the officiating was bad on both fronts last night. The goaltend, there's other areas Northwestern can complain about. I can complain about technical fouls being dished out because an official was wrong and because they missed a blatant offensive foul to end the game. My camp, though, and this is how I felt about the Super Bowl, would I have been mad about it? Sure. I'm a Chiefs fan. Everybody knows this. Told you that this week.
Yeah.
If that goes the other way, like the Chiefs are the one calling holding, am I probably pretty mad and bitter? Yes. But after I've taken time to cope with it, and particularly if the defender owns up to it and says, yeah, I held him, I want the call made there. End of game, I want a foul called. I don't want it to be suddenly a street rules brawl in WWE where it's like, oh, no, we're going to let you do whatever you want. You want to use the Gatorade lid as a weapon? Feel free. Go. We're not going to call it. Last 2 minutes.
You know what I don't want? I don't want technically it's defensive hold. I don't want technically.
No.
I don't want that.
I don't either.
I don't want technically.
No.
That was a little bit of a push-off. I don't want technical calls when it's down.
I want it
to
clear
the
as
end.
day. I want it clear as day.
That's exactly what I want as well.
And am I willing to say that the hold in the Super Bowl was closer to technical than clear as day? I'm willing to hear that argument and probably agree with it.
Yeah.
Last night, I'm not. It was every angle they showed. It wasn't like, oh, but from this angle, or if you slow it down, that's how you say it's not. No, it was live, and it was every replay they showed clear as day.
I do like amped up Jimmy Cook over here, Eddie Garrison. I would like you, Eddie, to give me
fired up.
He's fired up today.
That's hot.
I like it. I would like a detailed list of amped up categories for Jimmy Cook that I could kind of pepper him with from time to time. You know what I mean?
how we get the Fran McCaffrey like face level red meter?
Yeah.
We need that with Jimmy today.
Yeah. Is he outspoken about a certain genre of music?
Had that been against Purdue, you would have gotten red faced. I would have been livid.
Really?
Because they're rivals, right? Like Northwestern. Again, Northwestern is a very, like, from just being in the Big Ten and so much suffering they've gone through, they're a lovable team. Like I like Coach Collins. I do like the Wildcats. I don't have a problem with them usually. But had that been a legitimate rivalry game, like let's say on the road, and maybe you made the argument, oh, they're not getting that call in West Lafayette. Okay, fine. My baseline point is, though, neutral site, road game, home game. Make the call. If it's blatant, make the call. But to the larger point, yeah, that been in West Lafayette, and IU was finally going to win up there for the first time, and I don't even know how long it's been, and that's sad to say that, but I'd be pretty hot today. Very, very hot.
The thing about officiating, man, it's lame because you go back to the Super Bowl, I hate your Chiefs, and I feel like I'm kind of like kissing up to Jimmy Cook. I hate being in this position over
I appreciate
here, Eddie
it.
Garrison.
Makes me feel good.
Really not. But the problem with that defensive holding call, which was ticky-tack and in my estimation should not have been called, We don't talk about Mahomes and how sensational he was in the second half as much. We don't talk about the Chiefs' offensive line giving up 0 sacks. It's straight to that call. And the same thing last night. If it's straight to Boo Booey and the forearm groin check, if you will, it's not about Northwestern holding IU to 20 points and a half.
And that's where your actually stuff you don't like comes back into play, because I can sit there and I can honestly say, yesterday I said on the air what was going to be the difference for Indiana between last night and the meeting against Northwestern up in Assembly Hall. And my argument was they're going to take care of the basketball better. It's going to be a cleaner game. They'll be fine. And they didn't do that. They turned the ball over, 15 times
13.
At the end? 13?
13-3.
And again, that is just one team executing better over the course of 40 minutes of basketball. You saw that in Bloomington from Northwestern. You saw it again here. So there is a tip of the cap, credit where credit is due. You should have cleaned things up earlier. It's not just on that one call. Again, that's the part that you and I kind of go back and forth with. But they rallied back. I thought that thing's going to OT. I thought it deserved overtime. And also, I don't know that Boo Booey needed to get the separation like he did because he'd been hot all night.
I think it's so funny how the end result can feel so different, where if you flip-flop IU's performance, let's say they're scorching hot in the first half, and they're just giving away the lead, and they lose by 2 points at the end, you feel way worse today. And I'm not saying any IU fan is comfortable with the loss, but the way IU battled all the way back, and there's sort of a feeling like, hey, we're kind of in this thing. And then another 3, and it's like, we got a shot.
It was turning into a Miller Cop revenge game. I was like, because they were yelling obscenities at him all night, and I was like, oh man, this gonna be great. He's gonna get a little revenge. And then look, I'm not as another reason you asked why it'd be a red-faced day, or Fran McCaffrey day, as Eddie put it. There's a tomorrow, right? Like, right. But the bigger issue, why that is a seed line affecting loss. Like it's massive for Northwestern, and it's a missed opportunity
in the tournament.
Exactly, it's a seed line
in the
loss.
Conference tournament.
That too, both. It's a conference tournament loss, and it's something that impacts what your resume could be in March, and that is why, particularly in college basketball, yes, every game matters, but you get into conference play and you get into the final 4 or 5 games left of the season, and a missed call like that, and there were other stuff sure that Indiana could have done, but a missed opportunity there to add another win to your resume. That's the difference between being a 4 seed and being a 6 seed.
Yeah. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. There's no doubt. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook here on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. We will get to the Colts today. Heavy portion of Colts talk. Simple question. What would make you happy this year in 2023? What would make you happy as a Colts fan? We will get to that, but as promised, we want to get to Buddy Hield, the Pacers. The Pacers, you ever have just silly thoughts from time to time, Jimmy Cook? You can be honest with us.
All the time.
Here.
Love a good silly thought. Sure.
You know what song?
We thought Rick Carlisle killed Reggie Miller earlier. It happens.
Yeah, right. If Reggie were here, I'm sure he would Is Reggie gone? Did Reggie get... Yeah, thankfully he's still alive and kicking. It's all good. But the song that popped into my head after seeing the Pacers finally win a game, do you remember that song, Finally, It's Happened to Me? Where it's like, finally, it's happened to me. That's the song that popped into my head because they've sucked for 18 games. They've lost 16 of 18. They were down by 24 points at the end of the first quarter. They gave up 39 in one quarter to a Bulls team that had been brutal from 3 for over the last week, and no DeMar DeRozan. And it's like, what is happening? And then they totally redeemed themselves. The Pacers come all the way back. They get a win, and it was just nice to see them win again. And Buddy Hield does his thing, surpassing Reggie Miller. First things first, maybe this is putting a smile on your face over here. We just went through IU talk and officiating talk. Pacers get a win. Buddy Hield does something franchise-wise historic. Pretty good.
The smile on the face is for Buddy. The smile is also laughing at myself because I understand I'm in the wrong here, and I'm a bad person for this, but I've had a love-hate relationship with the Pacers the last 2 months. We talked about this yesterday, too, because they started off so hot, and it surprised everybody, because quietly within the fan base, man, Tyrese Halliburton's awesome. He looked great at the end of last year. He's the future, is going to be great. And then he goes out and he proves it. He becomes an all-star, and he's the clear going to be a future face of the franchise for years to come. They are still, even after last night, so obviously a player away that I keep going back to the thing about the best way to do that is through the draft. and they do have 3 first-round picks this year. But I'm at a point now where, like, I'm smiling because, I'm happy they won, but now I'm back in the boat of pessimistic Pacers fans where it's like the team wants to make the play, and they'd love to be a part of the postseason. They would love to. We know fans and front office / coaches / players are different. They're different human beings for a number of different reasons, but in particular because it's their livelihood and they're playing to have a tomorrow. As a realistic Pacers fan, this team's not doing anything this year. Right. They're not. Maybe they squeak out of the play-in. I guess if they go, 18-4, Eddie, maybe we could talk about them being I'm just throwing out a random number. There's 22 games left. I'm happy for Buddy. I'm happy they won. I'm happy for the fans that were there that got to see a win before the All-Star break. The second half of the season, I'd be lying to you if I'm not going to be a little, not as angry as a diehard Pacers fan would be if this season ends up 8-14 to close.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that the Pacers are just testing your level of commitment right now. This is like a relationship. This is a relationship that's hit a rocky stage.
Sure.
Like you forgot her birthday, you forgot your anniversary. I don't know, whatever happened. And it's a little rocky right now. That's where we are with the Pacers, man. And I have to constantly keep my mind right with the Pacers. That's where I find myself at, where it's like I see KD going to the Suns, and it's like, ooh, it's almost like waiting for the bus. And you're like, oh, here's my bus. And they're like, no, you're not on this bus. And I was like, I got to wait. Really? I want to be on that bus. But it's constantly keeping your head right of they are just putting the building blocks in place. They're not at that stage. And so I think you as a fan to stay sane is to not misinterpret the stage that they're in. And also, I think that it's easy to be there for the good times, just like a relationship. You got to be there for the bad times. These are the bad times. Losing 16 of 18, losing 13 straight on the road, that's the definition of the bad times.
But I'm the masochist over here where I'm not mad about the bad times.
There you go.
Quite frankly, I trust the front. I do. I trust what the front office doing. And to your point, larger picture for the Pacers, I love the direction and the health of the franchise where it's at right now. It's in a far better place than it was a year ago. Again, I say they're a player away, not negatively. I just mean they are. They clearly need, and Eddie and I have talked about this in the past, whether that's another forward, whether that is another playmaker, whatever the case may be, they need one more piece. Best place for it is the draft, and so that's why I am a bit of a masochist about it, where I'm like, oh man, they lost 60-18. That's terrible. But I have a little grin on my face looking at the camera like it's like draft stock went up. But I also understand that winning is fun, and there was so much losing with this franchise last year.
Yeah.
Who am I to be mad at them for coming back from 20 down in the first quarter to beat the Bulls?
You can't help yourself,
right.
I swear. As a fan, you could work in the NFL here, where, gosh, we go back a couple of years, the Jets beat Jacksonville, and it cost them Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
But Jets fans in that moment are like, right on, we win. I can't be mad at any fan being happy about a win in the moment.
I would have been hot. I would have been hot if I was a Jets fan. I mean, that's the difference between Zach Wilson and a quarterback. I mean, that's a whole different. We can get that for an hour. But you get my point.
That's different. But if the Pacers were in that upper, lottery, maybe they get Wembanyama. That's different.
And if they were even if they were like still what they were to start the year, which we knew was unsustainable. But if they were like a 4 or a 5 right now, I wouldn't have this mentality.
Right.
But they're in purgatory right now. They're just like the Colts were and the Colts currently are. And that's why there's so much occasional doom and gloom around both these fan bases, because both of them have had varying levels of success the last 15 years. In that stretch, obviously the Colts have not 15 to the Super Bowl, but they've been to a Super Bowl. Pacers in the last 15 years have been to 2 Eastern Conference Championship rounds. But outside of that, there's been a lot of close or just outside or retirements or just crazy things that have happened to these fan bases, to the point that they're both crossing with one another right now saying, wow, we just lose all the time now. So I get it. I totally get fans wanting to be happy, and I'm happy too. Like, I'm happy for Buddy. That's amazing. Like to think that in a single season, and there's still 20 games left, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but that's how much the game has changed.
Oh, gosh.
That he's passed Reggie Miller for franchise lead for single season threes. That's incredible, and he deserves all the applause for that. And the Pacers, for what they've done this season, deserve applause. I'm so mad though, because they're in a purgatory spot right now.
Oh, man.
Because best case is, at this point, not being too optimistic, but being generous to them, is a play-in spot.
Yeah. And some would argue that's hell.
That's not the postseason. That's people are like, that's not the playoffs. And I agree, it's literally not. It is the play-in tournament.
No, I love that the stats don't count. They're just like hovering in the atmosphere. They don't really pertain to anything for the play-in stuff. And we'll get to Dave Revsine from Big Ten Network at 1 o'clock at the top of the hour. Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, at 2 o'clock. Around the corner here at 12:30, Paul Corsaro, head coach at UIndy. We've got a couple of minutes right now, though. Let's dive into, Eddie, if you could, the Buddy Hield sound. He passes Reggie Miller for the single-season franchise record for three-pointers. Here's what Buddy had to say about that.
It's a new NBA, man. You shoot threes and shoot for you at a high level. One thing I said this year, I wouldn't say I'm just getting up threes. I'm shooting at a high clip. So, but passing a legend like Reggie, in Indiana, shows a testament of my hard work, dedication to the game, and my teammates finding me in the right open spots. People say quote unquote, you can't do it with my teammates. Yeah, my teammates find me a lot. But me moving, passing, replacing, trying to find ways to get open, still without them finding me, I couldn't do it without them. But it was a great accomplishment. But we just gotta keep building and see how far I can go with it.
I think that's the perfect soundbite. Really, because Buddy wasn't like, I'm awesome. I have put in a lot of time. He's like, yeah, I'm shooting threes at a much higher clip right now than when Reggie was around. And that's true. So I love that he prefaced it with that and then give some flowers to your teammates. I thought it was perfectly handled by Buddy.
And that is all the praise that we've heard, a microcosm of, we're not in the locker rooms, right? Unless you're interviewing guys, you're at the media availabilities, but everybody talks about the chemistry of this group, the selflessness of this group. And yeah, that's a prime example of it. I would expect nothing less from Buddy, but it's still good to be reminded of that and that they handle their business, whether it's on the court or in the press room. It's never really with this team right now about me. It's about the collective group as a whole. And that's why that was hard for me and why it was a constant debate here in studio leading up to the trade deadline of what does the future hold for Buddy? Because he's one of those players where he still has 2 years. You don't have to move him, but is he a serious part of your core at 30 years old, but still playing a high level? And that's not super old in today's NBA, but yeah, Buddy has been nothing short of amazing, both, again, just the way he handles his business off and on the court since he's been here in Indiana. He's beloved by the fan base and just a classy way to handle that entire moment.
We'll get to a little bit later one of his former teammates calling him an a-hole, and it's a compliment. We'll do that a little bit later in the show. Also, Eddie Garrison, you talk about crack research over here.
Oh, man.
There was smoke coming off of his keyboard earlier with some of the stats that he pulled up, comparing Buddy Hield to Reggie Miller and single-season shot attempts and career shot attempts and average shot attempts from three per game. It is mind-blowing stuff. So we'll do a little tail of the tape a little bit later. And again, props to Buddy. This is not selling him short at all. It's a different era. It's a different day and age. It's like passing yards in the NFL. It's a different era for passing yardage than it was in, say, the 90s or even the early 2000s. It's just different. So it's not to take shine away from Buddy. It's changed a little bit. All right, coming up next, Paul Corsaro, head coach at UIndy, will join us on the show. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Some listeners like you are experiencing firsthand the amazing pain relief from QC Kinetics, even calling your favorite radio host to share the good news.
QC Kinetics. I had my right ankle worked on 4 months ago. Awesome.
That's great,
look
Mick.
at that, man.
Yes, they worked on my elbow.
Every day, the QC Kinetics medical professionals treat patients like Mick with the latest regenerative therapies using natural biologics concentrated right at the hurting joint. No surgery, no downtime.
I'm telling you, QC Kinetics is the way to go if you don't want to go under the knife and suffer for 3 months.
Yep.
It was very easy, as you well know, with your elbow.
I'm telling you.
You guys are awesome.
Mick, appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks for the phone call. Really appreciate it. I'm so glad that QC Kinetics did some wonders for you. I mean, regenerative medicine, man, that's the thing these days. Living proof right there.
Call QC Kinetics now for your consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. 317-559-PAIN.
FedShare Powell said home values will likely continue to erode for some time. Now is the smart time to lock in your home's current higher value, get paid in cash, and not have to move. Learn more at TrueHold.com.
It's Kevin and Query.
Tyrese Halliburton joining us here.
I'm a Midwest kid through and through. It's in my blood. For me, it's just about winning basketball games. You know, the Pacers are a first-class organization who have done that, and the fans have been so awesome for us. We're coming into the year, a lot of people consider it a rebuild. Our fans have showed out every night, showed up to the games, showed love, showed support, and I think that means the world to us as young guys, because we know when we really get things cracked that our fan base will really be crazy.
Kevin and Query.
Weekday mornings at 7
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook here today on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. You know what else ticks you off, Jimmy? Just in general, I know officiating gets under your skin. Like reggae music, you hate reggae. I don't know, you hate shopping malls.
I don't handle traffic well. I don't handle traffic well, but that's most Americans.
Oh yes,
I feel like.
that is
I don't handle traffic and bad drivers.
We need to get a segment on that.
We can't.
We'll compare.
Write a whole
notes
book about
here.
that.
Let's welcome in Paul Corsaro, head coach at UIndy, joining us here on The Fan. Coach, you know, we'll get to basketball and all that good stuff, but there was smoke coming out of Jimmy's ears based on officiating. So it could be anything basketball, pet peeve-wise, or anything in life. What's on your list, Coach?
Oh, nothing. Just I'm in a good place. You know, we got a game tonight, and you know, boys are playing well, and there's nothing. There's no smoke coming out of my ears.
Man, that is.
Coach, have you? I apologize for not having the stat in front of me, but I'd like to never think negatively of you. Have you been dished out a tea yet in your coaching career?
I've gotten one each season so far, so I've gotten 3. And to be honest with you, I felt like I've just if what I did those times equal technical, then I've deserved many more. I don't feel like I really earned the ones that I got, shockingly.
Is that and I always like to joke with coaches about this, but is that a frustrating aspect of it that you'd like to get your money's worth?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'll be honest with you, like it's a lot harder to get technical than people realize. You know, people have no idea what's actually said face to face when the crowd's going and that kind of stuff. Like it's you know, I think it's pretty difficult to get one. And then the times I've got them, I've been like, really? Like, come on, let me get my money's worth. Let me have a little fun with this.
How many times, Coach, do you think you have gotten your money's worth and not been teed up?
Every game I haven't been teed up.
What do you find yourself?
I've coached, let's see here, I'm thinking, 77 games, so 74 times.
Coach, what do you find yourself arguing about the most passionately? Like, generally speaking, what is it that might get under your skin and cause you to yell at a ref or two?
It varies. Honestly, like I can't say one thing here or there. It's competitive, you know, but at the end of the day, listen, we're all humans. You know, they have a tough job. We have a tough job. Basketball games are competitive and emotional. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about having a mutual respect and understand that we're both working, you know, so try to work together as much as you possibly can. Say what you have to say. Listen when your emotions aren't too high and you're actually capable of doing so, which is easier said than done. But, like, it's an inexact science, to be honest with you.
Coach, you're riding, Coach Paul Corsaro, nice to take some time with us via the Motor Shop and Fitters hotline and themotorshop.com. You're riding a 16-game winning streak right now. Obviously, we've talked to you a bit over the course of the season, but what has been the biggest focal point or the thing you've been most proud of this group over this 16-game span?
Commitment to each other, commitment to the greater good, the greater cause of the group. No one's concerned about themselves or individual accolades or statistics or playing time. It's all about winning, and they play for each other. They play the right way, so it's a selfless group.
Coach, how do you get players to be more unselfish and to have that mindset?
You know, honestly, if you wait till you get them, it's too late. You know, you have to. That comes down to the recruiting, and you really got to find out the type of person you're getting before you bring them in, because that's a component that goes to character, and you have to have the right character to be able to be that type of teammate, that type of player. So I think that you're gonna sift through that during the recruiting process. And if you're about recruiting student athletes that are more than just, the statistics and what you see on paper and what you see on film, and recruit more than just a basketball player, then I think you have a chance to do that.
Coach, we were discussing earlier Buddy Hield on the Pacers side, breaking Reggie Miller's single-season franchise record for three-pointers made, and we were just discussing the different changes in the game over the last 10, 15 years. On that flow on the offensive side, Paul, because obviously you played there and now you're the head coach, how much have you seen that change both as your time as an assistant to now as a head coach in terms of the way the game is played on the offensive end?
It's definitely changed in terms of the value on shooting the ball from the three, and more attempts are taking, which is yielding a higher rate of makes. Because I'd be shocked to ever think Reggie Miller's 3-point record would be broken, especially this early in the season. But I think that just goes to how many more threes are being taken and how much more emphasis is being put on that. Conversely, we play a little more of a throwback style. We're going to drive it, we're going to post it, we're going to play inside out, and you can still win that way too. And I think where people get in trouble is, there's nothing wrong with going with the trends if that's who you are, but you got to stick to your identity, and you can still win that way. I mean, you look at teams that are still more of a run. It's kind of like the analogy I use is, teams can still win by running the football and not by spreading it around and, just dinking and dunking all over the field. There's multiple ways to win games in any sport, I think, but I think the key is sticking to your identity and being true to who you are.
Are there ever times, Coach, where your identity is tested? Like let's go with the football thing. If you're running the football, but you're playing an opponent and they're throwing the ball all over the place, and it's easy to be like, we kind of want to do something similar there. Do you ever get that tested where you face a team that's really good from three and it really tests your identity to stay true to what you do best?
All the time. All the time. The term we use here is we always talk about being us. We say that a lot. Like, guys, we got to just continue to be us and stay the course. And, we're going to keep doing what we do. We're more worried about UIndy than the other opponent more times than not. And if you get away from being yourself, being us, then you're not going to be as good. That's the bottom line. Every team has an identity. Every team is made up by a lot of talented individuals, but the sum of those individuals is going to be at its best playing a certain style and a certain brand. And, for instance, this past weekend we were on a road trip, and, we found ourselves down late in the second half in each game, and we just stuck to our identity, kept doing what we always do, and ended up working out for us.
Final two home games of the season upcoming for the 6th-ranked Hounds. You can catch them here in actually tonight, 7:30 against Drury, and then Saturday, back-to-back GLVC matchups to close the year. Senior Day, of course, this weekend. Coach, we talked to you last time when it was it Pack the House night? Am I getting that right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure. Right. So we talked to you last time, Pack the House night. For you, I know how important it is for support and the crowd you get and just the alumni base that continue to support the Hounds. Obviously, very important with you guys hanging on the top spot in the GLVC right now, and 2 back-to-back, 4 straight, really, conference games, 2 on the road to end the season, but these first 2 at home, critical, and I know you'd like as much support as you can get.
Absolutely. We always want to pack Nickerson Hall as much as we can. Our alumni and local support has been great. Hopefully we can keep this up these last 2 games, especially that Saturday game. Great opportunity to bring your kids if you got youngsters. We're actually going to do an autograph session right on the court immediately following our game. We're not even going to go back to the locker room. All of our players will be available for any kids in the stands, even adults if adults want them too. We'll have team posters available with Sharpies, and they'll be able to get autographs from all of our guys. So trying to just provide an atmosphere that people in the city can get on board with, and students are really starting to get on board too. Our crowds have been really, really good ever since our New Year's Eve game on New Year's Eve afternoon, and hopefully we can keep that going.
Coach Paul Corsaro taking some time with us here in the DriveHubler.com studios on the hotline. Coach, I know that this is not a time for memories. There's a lot of objectives that you still have on your checklist for this season, but we won't talk to you between now and Saturday's senior day. What's your biggest takeaways from this group of seniors?
It's a great group of guys, and three of the four, Ben, Jacoby, and Aaron, all local guys, here in Indianapolis. Ben Nickerson, Center Grove, Aaron Ethery, Hamlin Southeastern, and Jacoby Robinson, Warren Central. So some people that Indianapolis residents who follow high school basketball know about. Those are all guys that have been here since day one with me. Ben, was retained from the previous staff and stuck around and believed in me and didn't hop in the portal. And then actually Aaron and Jacoby were the first two guys that I signed over Zoom because it was in April of 2020, right in COVID. Right when I got the job, they were my first two commits on back-to-back days. So, what we've built, and, like I said, we're not done by any means. Not possible without those three. And, everybody talks about, the way things are going right now, but it wasn't always that way. We had to fight and scratch and claw to get here. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish, but I'll be forever in debt to those guys for helping me build this program. And then Bruno Williams came to us from Lewis this year at transfer, believed in us to spend his last year playing college basketball, and he's been a wonderful addition as well.
He's Coach Paul Corsaro from UIndy, head coach over there. Coach, last one from me. I want to know what you're displeased with. Okay, and I'll frame it like this. Coaches always want to fine-tune things, right? You're 22-2, won 16 in a row, but I think to Nick Saban, where he might have a nice win to start the season, and he sounds like he got blown out by 5 touchdowns. You're always trying to fine-tune things. If there is one area that you could just snap your fingers and fine-tune about your team, what would it be?
I got it all for you right now. Our after timeout defense, our baseline out-of-bounds defense, our transition offense, and our sideline out-of-bounds offense all need to get better. And trust me, every day I wake up thinking about how we can improve those things. I'm never happy.
Coach, I want to end on a silly note. I'll tell you who it was off air, but I'm not going to out which alumni sent me this. But I was told to ask, we asked you about your behavior currently as a head coach. How would you say that compares to when your sister, the talented Lindsay Corsaro, was playing?
Oh, you're talking about the behavior when?
Just of how you reacted during a game compared to when you were playing, compared to when you were coaching.
Oh, I was just a fan. She was so fun to watch, and I enjoyed watching her play. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. People who watch me can probably give me a better example. When it comes to sports and getting fired up, it's kind of an outer body experience. So whatever reaction I get, sometimes I black out and don't even know what the heck just happened. So whoever's watching me can probably give you a better answer there.
Coach, really appreciate the time, man. Hope you have a great game tonight, and we'll catch you down the road. All right.
Guys, appreciate it as always. Have a great one.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
You too. Paul Corsaro, head coach at UIndy. By the way, Jimmy Cook, what kind of coach would you be? Would you be fiery? Would you be a little bit like Tom Izzo? I don't know. Like, what would be your style if something? What if, like, Boo Booey drives in and forearms the guy in front of him? Would you just lose your mind, start throwing stuff? What would you do?
Never to the point of throwing stuff. Definitely would be in an official's face trying to yell at them off the floor. But in terms of
Bob Knight, you
no, we're not throwing chairs. That's I gotta be original. I can't steal an iconic move like that. But no, we're not throwing stuff. From a demeanor standpoint, and I don't remember who it was this week that said this, but we were talking about like different coaching styles in the NFL, and the perceived coaching style of Tony Dungy was that you knew when he was disappointed in you, you didn't have to. He'd have to yell at you about it or be in your face about it. You knew and responded to improve because, oh man, that would be more my demeanor, is that that you would
really
let me versus, like, I understand I came in here guns blazing, but yeah, no, I'm not.
his coaching style is much different than his radio style.
Yes, indeed.
You'd be more so strength, but not as spoken, right? Like more like quiet strength. Right? Like that's more Tony Dungy's, more of like a quiet strength type thing.
What about you?
Oh, I'd be crazy.
Yeah.
I'd be a freaking maniac on the sideline. If something, because listen, we do like gambling talk from time to time.
Oh man.
If I know you get down on the gambling.
We're degenerates.
We are.
Hey, welcome. I'm at home over
One
here.
of us.
Yes.
One of us.
I'm at home over here. But it happened in the IU game against Michigan. I had the team total over in the first half. And they blew the layup.
Oh.
I needed that layup. That is not a good place to be. But if it's the official's fault and I'm a head coach, Yeah, I can't say I'd be composed.
Same, because there's a difference between because I'm going to bat for my guys in that moment. That's how I view that. I'm not just taking out on the official because I'm mad. I feel like my players who worked hard were robbed of a win or robbed of an opportunity. That's why I'm so frustrated. Well, that you missed the call, but versus yelling at a player or cursed him out or something.
Oh no, yeah. It's just I'm the same way with gambling. It's stupid to just like curse out a player, or it's just like they're trying. But it's still like I needed that. But
same
if
with
it's
fantasy football. Same thing.
If it's the official at fault.
My favorite is when
worse.
like the under is on pace the entire game, and then you get to the final minute, and there's just like foul after foul, and it's like free throw after free throw. Next thing you know, there's 17 points scored in the last 45 seconds in the overcash. It's like, what the hell?
That's rough. We need to do that next hour, Jimmy. We need to do the one thing at the top of your list, driving-wise, that gets under your skin about traffic, and we need to do the one thing, top of the list. There are many on these lists over here, but the top of the list, the thing that drives you most crazy about losing a bet. What would be at the top of the list? Eddie laid his out. We'll get to that in the next hour. Coming up next, I want to get to the Colts, so we haven't talked about them yet. What would make you happy this year? Simple question. In the year 2023, what would make you happy? Within reason. Right, we're not talking about an undefeated season, winning a Super Bowl. Like, come on.
The owner tweeted no less than 6 months ago that 2 Lombardis were coming in the next decade. So, I mean, depending on what headspace you're in, there are no wrong answers.
Let's get it rolling in 23 over here. We'll get to that right around the corner. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mom, Dad, Sis?
Here we go again.
Why are you in a suit? Picture, if you will, a world with the best network imaginable. I'm talking about the Xfinity 10G network. Go on. Mom, remember how your reality shows wouldn't load with all of us online? Now you can binge. And Susie, we'll have fast internet in the basement.
Nice.
If you have any questions, here's my card.
This is just your name on a gum wrapper.
Introducing the 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through March 21st, new customers can get 200 megabit Xfinity internet during our limited time Xfinity 10G network launch celebration for just $25 a month for 2 years. Plus, there's no annual contract required and you get Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Hey, it's Dan Dockage here. You know, for years on my radio show, I asked people to help me out. I needed a treatment, aches and pains. I couldn't lose weight. Well, guess what? I found a solution. I did. Affinity Whole Health. All you've got to do is go to feelgreatindy.com and look into it for yourself. The testosterone program that I am on has been a godsend. I've missed no workouts in 6 months. No more aches and pains. And I have lost weight. FeelGreatIndy.com is the place to go. Get started just like I did.
JMV here for my guys John and Chris Love at Love Heating and Air Conditioning. The groundhog said 6 more weeks of winter, and you need to make sure your furnace is safe, efficient, and working properly before you have a breakdown on a sub-zero day. Get the recommended service now from Love Heating and Air Conditioning, and the Love family will waive the $95 trip and diagnostic fee. These are the guys I trust in my home. I love the guys at Love. You will too. That's love-hvac.com or 317 817-754-0754. Tell them JMV sent you.
A new career offers new beginnings and unlimited opportunities. Begin your career with Eskenazi Health, ranked as Indiana's top hospital for community benefit by the Lown Institute. At Eskenazi Health, our patients are treated with compassion and skill. That's why Eskenazi Health is looking for professionals who share our mission and have a passion for serving their community. Enjoy excellent benefits, competitive pay, and unwavering leadership support. Learn more about Eskenazi Health careers at eskenazihealth.edu/careers.
ACC Hoops rivals North Carolina and North Carolina State meet in Raleigh, Sunday at 12:45 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
and 107.5 The Fan.
I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook here on The Fan today, having some fun. We haven't talked Colts yet, and that I just had a flashback to the movie Braveheart. You a fan of the movie Braveheart? Remember when Mel Gibson was a wee little tyke, and I think it was his uncle was like, well, that's something we shall have to remedy because he didn't know how to speak a certain language or whatever. That we got to remedy that. We haven't talked Colts yet. Let's remedy it. What would make you happy this year? That's a simple question. 2023, within reason, what would make you happy? I don't think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy, I don't think I'm that hard to please over here. This is what I want. This is on my Colts wish list. Within reason, okay? I want proof that Shane Steichen is fine-tuning the offense. Okay, I want proof. I'm not expecting them to be top 5, but I just want proof they're on the right track. And I want to feel strongly that they have found the right quarterback and he indeed will be a franchise quarterback. That might be a little strong in year one, but you could tell with Justin Herbert year one, this guy is a franchise QB. I would argue, some might disagree, I would argue in year one, maybe partially because of the college credentials, that Trevor Lawrence, when he got a real head coach, he was going to be a franchise quarterback. Even if it's not awesome, it's not like an RG3 rookie season, but you can tell they've got their guy. I want the coach. I want the quarterback. The rest of the results in 2023, I really don't care about because you're on the right path.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, right, with the Pacers and the Colts being in similar mindsets. The mindset Pacers fans had to start the year should be the same that Colts fans do, which is last year was tough. Just tough on a number of different levels. This is not a Lombardi year, but you want growth and you want strides, particularly with your young quarterback. To your point regarding Steichen and his ability to develop other pieces, we discussed yesterday with Dave Spadaro of PhiladelphiaEagles.com, and he mentioned other position groups, and he mentioned the running back room, that he handles a running back room nicely. He will help develop that as well, along with the quarterback play. He has a track record twice now. It's well documented with Herbert and with Hurts. For me, the first one, this is half a joke, they're going to take quarterback in the draft. But, and Ballard said it jokingly, and then he made a comment during the press conference that, oh, that's going to be on Twitter. And he's right. It is, because he made a joke about trading back during a press conference for your new head coach when all the franchise wants is a quarterback. Don't even joke about it. Like, it's fine if Irsay wants to joke about which quarterback they may or may not take, but joking about trading back, that's my mini wish list. Actually draft a quarterback in the first round this year. That's the first bar.
Yeah.
Easy to clear.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you don't stumble, Colts fans will be happy. Additionally, I would like a playmaking weapon at wide receiver.
Okay.
And if that leads to fun, exciting offense with what they already have with Michael Pittman Jr., with Alec Pierce, who hope takes another leap. Jelani Woods seems promising. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at another high-quality tight end, but Jelani Woods seems room for growth. I want them to be fun offensively next year. That's my main objective. Second half is don't take a step back defensively. Whether it's still Gus Bradley or another defensive coordinator, that defense, for a time, was one of the best in football last year. They just didn't have the offense to match it.
I like it. You are a needy Colts fan. I like that. You got a few more things on your wish list. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, just a couple more.
Yeah. It's like when you were a young kid and your parents said, what do you want for Christmas? And you rattled off 9 things. Hey, I might get 2 things, but you had 9 things on your wish list.
We talked about betting off the air. If they can win in a couple areas, I can deal with the losses. I'm trying to spread it out so that joy is guaranteed, Brian. That's all I'm looking for.
You're looking for a net positive. I get it. Yeah, what I'm most excited about with Steichen is how different the quarterbacks he's had, they've been successful. You can't get much different from Phillip Rivers to Jalen Hurts. And then you mix in Justin Herbert in between, but just stylistically, so different. And so that makes me very optimistic depending on who they get. There are very different styles. You look at C.J. Stroud, he's not going to be a dynamic runner ever. But Bryce Young could be pretty special with his legs in the NFL. We know Anthony Richardson should be special with his legs. So depending on who they get, he should be able to get the best out of that guy. That's exciting to me.
My larger thing, too, with the pick of a quarterback, and obviously you mentioned a couple names there in Young and Stroud and Richardson. Levis is there as well. For me, and this is bad radio, but it's good perspective. I get because everybody wants, what's your name? Who do you want? Probably Stroud. That's probably who I want. But I'm not going to flip a table unless they trade up and do something stupid. Like if they trade up and they go get Levis, then I'll be kind of like, because that's been in a mock draft. I've seen that a couple places. Woo. I'm not saying it's going to happen. That kind of thing would make me mad. But if they stay at 4, the quarterback position, and it's to your point about Trevor Lawrence, yes, you can have elite talent, but it is so much also about the staff around you who is helping you develop your system to an extent. That can be the difference between you being a flame out as a quarterback or having a long and steady NFL career. That's the bigger issue to your point about Steichen.
Man, we'll get to the QBs and that breakdown, which we're very much looking forward to, because there's some homework. We talk about how exhaustive the coaching search was. I hope the QB search is exhaustiver. I hope it's even more exhaustive.
Hopefully.
All right. Coming up next, Dave Revsine from Big Ten Network. We'll have some fun with Dave, see what his thoughts were. Was he throwing things like Jimmy Cook was about the officiating last night in the IU game? We will find out. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
So the NBA trade deadline was wild, and the Pacers and Jordan Nwora. Not eye-popping stats by any stretch, but it's something where you can take a shot, and I like the idea that they did. They're not buyers or sellers, they're builders, and we'll see if Jordan Nwora works with this group moving forward.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 till 6
on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. CDL drivers and diesel mechanics in the Indianapolis area. It's time to bring your skills and experience to a leading provider of sustainable solutions, Waste Management.
WM is now offering a $2,500 new hire bonus to CDL drivers and diesel mechanics to fill immediate job opportunities at WM sites in Clayton and Whitestown. WM is also hiring for a variety of other positions too.
Interviews for all sites are Friday, February 17th, 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. at the WM offices, directly across from the entrance to the Twin Bridges landfill, 124 East Twin Bridges Road in Danville.
That's Friday, February 17th, 8 till 5 at 124 East Twin Bridges Road in Danville.
Walk-ins welcome, but save time and pre-apply online at wm.com/careers. That's wm.com/careers. Search driver and mechanic jobs in Indianapolis, Clayton, and Whitestown, Indiana.
Hiring today for tomorrow. We are WM.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Nice run. It's great being back out on the mountain. You sort of disappeared for a while. Everything okay? Between you and me, it was lower testosterone. Lower T? Yeah. The doc told me once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to stay in shape. That's why I started taking Nugenix Total T. It's made a huge difference. Oh, I've seen that on TV. Is it for real?
For sure. It's the #1 doctor-recommended testosterone booster. It boosts free and total testosterone levels to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. My wife, my boss, my kids, everyone has noticed a change in me.
Do they still give out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves?
Yes, just send them a text.
Guys, text HATCH to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone brand at GNC and Walmart. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back in shape fast, absolutely free. Text HATCH to 321-321. That's HATCH to 321-321.
Using your phone should never have to be a luxury.
Walmart Family Mobile now offers free or discounted plans through the Affordable Connectivity Program. ACP is a government program that helps eligible Americans have access to wireless service. You can get unlimited talk, text, and 8 gigabytes of high-speed data for free when you qualify. Apply now at myfamilymobile.com/ACP. Walmart Family Mobile is supported by the Affordable Connectivity Program and Lifeline, government assistance programs. Please visit myfamilymobile.com/ACP for more information.
Hey, it's Big Joe with Dave Magine, co-owner of B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Drains in Speedway. Dave reminds us the heat coming out of your furnace is a constant temperature. The only way to make your home warmer is to let the furnace run longer.
Turning the thermostat up doesn't make the heat come out any hotter. It's still the same temperature. Your furnace just won't shut off until it gets to that temperature. So you leave it at the temperature you want, and turning it up doesn't make the heat come out any hotter.
For more great tips and service, go to bplusw.com. B&W is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis. Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nemhard compete in the NBA Rising Stars games tomorrow night at 9 on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
.93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Oh, what's going on, everybody? I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook here on The Fan today. And I was just thinking about, we'll get to the quarterbacks a little bit later in the NFL draft, but I was thinking about Will Levis, the Kentucky quarterback. You always have these discussions about with the wings you eat. You go blue cheese or ranch.
Ranch.
I think that Will Levis is like blue cheese, meaning this. Some people are all for it. Some people are completely against it. And I hear more completely against Will Levis than completely for him. But the point is, he's sort of like a polarizing prospect in the upcoming NFL draft. And whichever side you feel, chances are you feel strongly for or against Will Levis.
I mean, he puts mayo in his coffee.
That's crazy. That's
Is that
insane.
real?
That's
Yes.
a real thing, yeah. And he eats the banana.
Rather eat blue cheese.
He eats the whole peeling of the banana. Like he doesn't peel
Like a
the banana.
potato skin?
He
Like
just grabs it and starts
potato.
biting. Yeah.
I did do Indiana there, didn't I? Yeah, man, that's. I mean, wow. Is there nutritional gain from that we've all been missing out on?
I would hope so, because I can't imagine its taste. Cannot imagine its
You
taste.
just puts mayo on it, and you're good.
Yeah.
Just roll.
We're going to catch up with Dave Revsine from Big Ten Network here in just a couple of minutes. But going back to last night's game, Jimmy, I was thinking about Northwestern. Northwestern plays as if they're coached by Bill Belichick, because they will key in on what you do best or your best player, and they won't allow that player to just go freaking ballistic, right? And you saw that last night. You saw it in the last couple of games for Northwestern, who's not strong in the front court, but you saw them with Trace. You saw them against Edey, and they both had almost the same stat line. You had Trace had 23 last night.
It got cleaner, but it was ugly for the first 10 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
They kept showing whatever he had. I can't remember how many he had, if it was 26 or 28 against Michigan, but they kept showing tonight 2. Tonight 4.
Yeah, but got to the free throw line
Yes.
quite a bit and bumped up the point total right there. But yeah, 23 for Chase, 24 for Edey, but you saw him almost the same amount of attempts, where Trace, I believe, was 7 for 11. Zach Edey was 7 for 10. But they didn't allow the best player to just go crazy. And I saw Trace being more of a facilitator, more of like, hey, man, they're doubling me. I got to pass it to somebody else.
I mean, yes, he doesn't get enough credit. I mean, maybe he does within the program, but he doesn't get enough credit at the national stage with how efficient and just clean on a rope his passes are.
Yeah.
And how well he reads those when doubles come.
Hood Schifino with the lob in the final minute, not as precise.
That was tough.
Not as precise.
Because there's been so many highlight plays like that all year. I don't know what happened. I made the joke. It's my favorite one. Whenever players make mistakes like that, he held the A button down too long. I don't know what happened. But Hummel, again, and I'll take Robbie's guidance on it because he's as sharp as anybody in the business. He said the lob was there, and I think it was. The pass was just...
It absolutely
overshot Trace Jackson-Davis, which is something.
Yeah. Not just by a little, by like it barely grazed the top of the backboard right there. That was a rough one, but close, not quite for IU But it was insane because, on Fox or Big Ten Network last night, how they have the graphics very similar to Fox. And it's striking to me how you have the exact same record, exact same conference record, overall record. IU is 14, Northwestern unranked. And I understand. It's who you play, it's who you beat. I get all of that. But it's the same record, and it's still different.
And that's why, again, I don't pay attention as much to the polls anymore unless it's for stuff like this, because that, and you know this, that doesn't mean anything to the committee. There's so many other metrics they're looking at,
right?
Because at the end of the day, right now, record-wise, and yes, IU's had a bit of a stronger schedule in terms of non-conference areas, but just strictly speaking, in conference play, Northwestern has been as talented, win-loss, maybe not the roster-wise, but win-loss is Indiana this year. I don't know how many votes Northwestern is getting. Again, I don't care, because they are definitively now, in my mind, a tournament team. Like, if they weren't already, which I think they were a 6 on some of bracketologists like Jerry Palm and Joe Lenardi, they're a lock to be a tournament team now, in my mind.
It really is like college football, where you see the AP poll throughout over half the season, and then the committee comes out with their playoff poll.
All of a sudden, the team that's 10 is in the playoff. Like, what is happening?
It's totally different, and that's the same way it is with rankings right now, and when the field is unveiled, where you might have a ranked team, and they are a low seed, or you could have a team that's very lowly ranked or not even ranked, and they're a higher seed than you would imagine. It's just funny, like, the committee just does their own thing, whether it's basketball or football.
And you can never get a clear answer for what matters more to them. Everybody says it all matters equally, whether it's net, whether it's strength of schedule. They obviously don't use Ken Palm as much anymore. Net has kind of superseded that. But, yeah, I mean, there's so many different variables that go into it. I've always wanted to, I don't know if you have, because I'm not like super numbers guy. I've always wanted to go to one of those, because they invite people, the media. I don't remember when they do it, but at some point in the year, they take you in and you do a mock selection process. They show you what goes into it. I've always thought that was really cool. I don't know. Just always been something that on the mini bucket list, things I'd like to do within the sports world is go to one of those seminars. And because I think it's around this time of year. We're getting close if it hasn't happened already.
You know what I want? I want, for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I want the deliberations.
Be in a committee meeting?
To be televised. I want them to do a Hard Knock style.
Oh, man.
And I want to see footage of the media guy who bangs the table against a player.
That's awesome.
Getting inducted. That's what I want to see. Where it's like, nah, they just didn't have enough All-Pros. I can't say yes on this one. Remember, like, Charles Haley and some of these guys that are like, I'm not in the Hall of Fame. Now those players hear the arguments against them. That would be entertainment defined.
You ever get that feeling where you've never known you wanted something your whole life, but now you do?
Yeah.
This is one of those for me. I'm right there with you.
Hard Knock style Hall of Fame deliberations. Let's make it happen. All right, let's welcome in Dave Revsine from Big Ten Network joining us here on The Fan. Dave, welcome in, man. Hope you're having a great day. Before we get to hoops, we were just talking about things that annoy us, and we were talking about the highway. I'm curious, what annoys Dave Revsine the most when you're just driving from point A to point B?
The highway annoys you? Could you elaborate?
Just traffic. Yeah, traffic-wise.
Oh, traffic annoys you. Yeah. So you're asking me from a traffic perspective what annoys me the most?
Yes.
This seems like a very narrow focus of conversation.
It's more expansive. I think you're making it narrow, but it's quite expansive, Dave.
Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of traffic. I would like to have. I'm kind of contemplating the world of the self-driving car because I get very, very distracted and bored. And I spend a lot of time driving, right, like back and forth from games and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all. So I'm with you guys.
Dave, we got on this tangent because you don't know this, but I'm an IU alum, and I understand I probably shouldn't be having sour grapes as an IU alum, but I was not happy with both sides of the officiating last night of IU Northwestern, particularly how the game ended. That went into pet peeves, and then we're at traffic. So that's how we got there.
Oh, okay. All right. So it was a broader discussion.
Yes. We're very sophisticated here.
Wide ranging between Big Ten officiating and traffic.
Yes,
we did.
Okay.
We did kind of shoehorn in there the meaning of life along the way, Dave. So it was.
Holy cow!
We covered a lot of bases over there. Yeah. Just general thoughts of the game last night. What did you think about IU? Really tough first half, only 20 points, battled all the way back, didn't go their way in the final seconds. What was your overall view of how they played and how it went down?
It just seemed like they weren't ready to play last night in the first half, which was a little bit strange. Northwestern really took it to them. Look, Northwestern's going to be very physical on defense. I mean, that's just kind of the way that they can win. And it really seemed to fluster IU, I thought, in the first half. Those hard doubles, TJD didn't respond particularly well to them. I mean, honestly, it could have been like a 30-point game in the first half. I mean, Northwestern missed so many open threes really throughout the game. They did. So we were talking at halftime off the air, but I think we kind of implied it on the air. Like, Indiana was fortunate to be down 19. They really were. But then, came out like gangbusters in the second half. I thought they made a really good adjustment where they initiated TJD further away from the basket, like got him the ball further from the basket. And I think that kind of negated some of those hard double teams from Northwestern, right? Whereas it's harder to double him up, 12 feet away than it is right around the basket because there's just so many different ways that he can hurt you. And he had a couple nice passes, I remember to Race Thompson in particular. So it felt like Indiana kind of figured it out in the second half and obviously made a great game of it, came all the way back. But yeah, to me, like my takeaway on it was it just didn't feel like IU was ready to go, and that ended up costing them.
Dave Revsine, nice enough to take some time with us via the Mower Shop and Fishers hotline and themowershop.com. Dave, I want you to, you're a Big Ten savant. You're one of the founding voices on the Big Ten Network. I want to get your thoughts on this, and you talk me off the ledge, because not from an IU perspective, but large-scale Big Ten. You mentioned the physicality of Northwestern, and I understand there's a larger mix of why Big Ten teams haven't had the success that we'd like to see out of the conference in the tournament. There's many reasons, and also the tournament is a total. It's a mixed bag of what you're going to get, right? It is what it is. A single elimination tournament. You know that. You mentioned the physicality of Northwestern, though. The Big Ten, the way that I feel like it is on a nightly basis, the way it's been the last 20, 25 years, it's so physical, and I feel like more is let go on a nightly basis in conference that it contributes to when you get to the big dance, to a sense that teams are not ready for the way, that's a foul now? We can't play that physical anymore on that side of the ball? Am I wrong on that and thinking that's a larger issue to at least a contributing factor for early exits for the Big Ten? Am I crazy, or is that not that far off?
All right, so I don't necessarily buy this notion of early exits for the Big Ten. And you could say, well, wait a minute, the last couple of years have been bad, and the last couple of years have been bad. But the last couple of years are really not indicative of what has happened more broadly within the Big Ten and the NCAA tournament. In fact, going into last year, dating back to Michigan State's national championship, which obviously is a long time ago. Like, the national championship drought is very real, and we can get into that. But going into last year, the Big Ten was tied with the ACC for the most Final Fours in that period since Michigan State won the national championship at the beginning of this century. So they have gotten teams to the precipice. They had 7 teams play for the national championship in that span, including several who, I kind of think were the better team when they got there, just didn't win the game. So, again, I understand they haven't won a national championship, and it's crazy to see it. And I remain hopeful every year that this will be the year that it changes. But I don't really accept the premise that the Big Ten hasn't done well in the tournament other than the last 2 years. Like, the last 2 years have been really bad. But the conference has been physical for a long time.
Right.
Like, that's not something that has changed here in the last couple of years. I just think for whatever reason, the last couple of years, there have been bad matchups. I think in the year where the whole thing was in the bubble, I honestly just think the Big Ten teams were in Indy for too long. Like, I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but like, they literally were all in the same hotel from the beginning of the Big Ten tournament through the NCAA tournament, and I think like a lot of them were just going stir crazy. And I understand everyone else was in the bubble too, but they had at least been able to travel from their conference tournament. And then last year, just kind of what happened, and there were, each is a unique circumstance. But so that would be my take on it. The Big Ten is a physical league. It's always going to be a physical league. It's just kind of its brand of basketball. But its brand of basketball has been very successful outside of winning a national championship.
He's Dave Revsine from Big Ten Network joining us here on The Fan. You know, you talk about winning championships, and it leads me to, what do you think IU's ceiling, the absolute ceiling, is for them come tournament time?
I don't know. I just think I'm not trying to back out of this question or dodge it in any way, but I just think the tournament is so dependent on who you are playing, and it's so matchup specific. I mean, they're going to have the best player on the court basically in any game they play. I mean, I think Trace Jackson-Davis is that good. Again, I understand I'm biased. I watch much more Big Ten basketball than other leagues, so I certainly try to watch as much as I can. But, the Big Ten plays virtually every night, and that's my job to talk about those games, and so I watch a lot of it. But you look at, like, the Ken Pom, right? Trace Jackson-Davis is his number 2 ranked player in the country, or at least was going into last night's game. I don't know why anything would have changed last night. He nearly got a triple-double. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're always going to have the best guy in the court. I think Hood Schifino is really, really good. I worry about not having ancillary players who they can depend on a night-in and night-out basis. I mean, I do think that's hard. You say, well, if someone takes away TJD, it's just easier said than done to take away TJD. So is there a ceiling on IU? I don't know. I mean, they beat Purdue, who's going to be the number 1 overall seed. I think they're a really, really good team. To me, they can easily be a Final Four team. I can understand why not, but they could also lose, in the second round. I mean, I think that's just kind of the vagaries of the tournament, and it's so dependent on who you play. But I think Indiana's really, really good when they're at their best.
Dave, you mentioned Purdue. I've gotten some different requests in my mentions regarding Purdue basketball and questions about the way Zach Edey is officiated. The most recent one that I've been getting is when he's lined up in the middle of the free throw lane on a free throw. Defenders are wrapping arms or locking arms with him to prevent him from getting rebounds. In general, your overall thoughts on the way Zach Edey is officiated, and if you think that he is sometimes penalized for how big and strong he is on the field, or on the court, rather.
Stephen Bardo and I talked about this on the Northwestern Purdue game on Sunday, which I had the call for. He is a really tough guy to officiate when you talk to refs. And I get it. That's their job, right? I mean, we all have tough aspects of our job and say, man, this is really hard. It's like, okay, well, that's what you're paid to do. So figure out a way to do it. But I do think it's just kind of uniquely challenging because he is so much bigger than everyone else. We did show at one point the kind of welts on his arm on Sunday. I don't know if you guys were watching, but, again, whether those were from, they actually looked like maybe they'd been there for a while, but I don't know if they actually had happened on Sunday. But I do think it kind of points out, yes, he takes a lot of abuse. He also, he is really big, and I think that he kind of also dishes out some abuse. So, I don't know. Again, I empathize with officials. I do think it's really tough. I mean, I know last night, was the last play a push off.
I was hot, Dave.
Boo-booey.
I was hot.
I mean, but again, you can look at an obvious missed goaltend earlier in the game that then led to a 3-pointer. That's a 5-point swing right there, right on a blown call. There are blown calls all over the game. I don't know. I don't really think you can call that at that point, but who knows? I just think it's hard. I think officiating is hard, and sometimes you look at the replay and it's like, wow, that is not what I saw at all in real time. So I'm not making excuses. I just think it's really, really challenging. And the only thing that you can do against Zach Edey is try to be as physical as you can, because otherwise, it's over. If he gets deep post position, it's over.
Yep.
Right? You're dead. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I'm not making excuses for anyone. I'm just saying it's harder than it seems from whether it's from my seat at mid-court or in the studio or from anyone else's seat at home in front of their 60-inch television. It is a very challenging job. Now, they got to figure it out. But I guess I'm not saying that he's officiated differently. He is different, and that makes the officiating challenging.
You know, Dave, I was just thinking about a lot of the questions that we ask and you get. It's all about who's the best, who's going to do what come tournament time, who's chasing a championship. That's all cool, but just entertainment-wise, I think sometimes we just forget about entertainment. Which Big Ten team, good, bad, in the middle, what have you, are you just flat out most entertained by?
Well, I think Iowa's maybe the most fun team to watch in the Big Ten when they've really got it rolling. They've obviously been much better at home this year than they have been on the road. But I just like their style. I mean, they are different in some ways from a lot of Big Ten teams because they're a little bit more free-flowing on offense, because they play at a little bit faster pace. So I guess if I had to pick one, I would choose them. But I think the great thing about the Big Ten and what I've come to really appreciate is the adaptability of some of these different programs. So I think in past years you might have said Michigan State because they were a little bit more up-tempo and free-flowing of a team, but Tom doesn't really have a team that can do that this year, and so he has adapted his style. I think the identities of teams are part of what makes them fun. So in other words, to see this Rutgers team over the last few years create an identity as a real good defensive team that has a great home court advantage, Northwestern trying to do that this year, like that's kind of the beauty of it. But if you were just asking me kind of from the pure aesthetic standpoint of it, I love watching Iowa play when they've got it rolling.
Dave, last question on my end, kind of a two-parter regarding Northwestern. It appears by all accounts they've proven they're for real over this stretch in their wins over top 25 opponent after top 25 opponent. I know it depends on draw, but where are your expectations for them with where they can go in the tournament? And then also, with how well they've been and just the incredible run underneath Coach Collins, is he going to be an easy named candidate to be potentially plucked? So, I mean, obviously you have buyouts and stuff in that regard too, but could he be plucked somewhere else after this offseason?
That's interesting. I hadn't really considered that. I mean, he's obviously was on the hot seat. He's had some really lean years here in recent years since they made the NCAA tournament. He's done a fabulous job with this team, and I just don't think there's any doubt he's the Big Ten Coach of the Year. I mean, I said this on the game Sunday. They were picked 13th in the Big Ten, except for by the people who picked them 14th. And here they are alone in second place now, more than halfway through February. So I think he's done a remarkable job. I'd be very surprised I guess like Notre Dame's open. I mean, maybe that's a job where someone would consider him. I think he's a really good coach. I think Northwestern's a hard job. Again, I think there was some question going into this year about whether he'd be back in Evanston on their, kind of as their decision. I'd be surprised if he's not back there next year and have some sort of long-term deal. I think he's happy. His son's a student there. He's from Chicago. I mean, it just feels like it's a really good fit. Now I think it gives him an opportunity to do what they kind of failed to do the last time they made the tournament, and that's see some of the momentum and figure out a way now that the arena's built and they've created an atmosphere. So I hadn't really considered that part of it. As far as where they can go in the tournament, I mean, they're very good defensively, and I do think that the defense travels. They are not a good shooting team. and I just think that's kind of a limiting factor. They really have to figure out a way to get Robbie Barron or Ty Berry going. I mean, those guys were essentially left open by Indiana last night. And a lot of it is the attention that's paid to Bowie and Audige. But, they had tons of open looks and just couldn't hit them. The same thing against Purdue, and they don't really have a low post presence. I mean, Matthew Nicholson's fabulous defensively. He's trying to develop a low post game, but for all intents and purposes, he's a freshman, and because he played so sparingly in the last 2 years. So I don't know. I mean, could they be a team that wins a couple games? I think they could be, but I just think it depends so much on who they end up matched up with.
Hey, Dave, appreciate the time, man. Great stuff. Hope you have a good day, and we'll catch you on Saturday doing the Ohio State-Wisconsin game for sure.
Penn State, Wisconsin. So, looking forward to that one on Saturday, and thanks a lot for having me on. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, Brian. Take care, guys.
Yeah, you too. There he is, Dave Revsine, Big Ten Network, joining us here on The Fan. And, not exactly lights out from three last night. Was Northwestern 8 for 33. That'd be a 24% clip from distance.
It was one of those moments where I almost would have rather, because they were so bad, particularly the second half, where I almost would have rather them send a double to Bowie earlier than they did. But again, it's split second stuff. I'm not worried about Indiana. You can't help but tip your cap a little bit for what Northwestern has done, even though, again, they've broken some hearts in the state of Indiana the last 2 weeks. But you tip the cap, and it's a conference team that throughout their history, not a lot of high-level success. So you're happy for them and ultimately see what they can do in the tournament. But to Dave's point, I get it. Like it's you don't want to dodge the question, but so much of it comes down to, like, it would be to your draw. It would be so easy to sit here and say, like, Purdue, Matt Painter has consistency every regular season. Go do it in the tournament. I need to see a Final Four run. That's easy to say, but so much of it is matchup dependent. So much of it is, once you get in the tournament, as you go game by game, then it's high quality coaching. You expect them to have a scout. You expect them to have the right report ready to go. But now, February 16th, when we're still about a month away from the big dance, it's tough to have that statement without knowing what the path looks like. Somewhat, but man, when you are the number one team for a bulk of the season, and you're number one overall, and you've got a 7-3 guy, it's like at some point you enter Rick Barnes territory. Sure. So you're just getting to the tournament and not really going through the tournament. Not expectation. Again, Purdue, this has been joked about throughout time between IU fans and Purdue fans. Purdue fans are always looking for when the big grand piano is going to drop on them, right? Like they're always waiting for disaster to strike. And this is probably not a Purdue fan mentality, but if I was a Purdue fan, and let's say I'm younger and I don't have as much of that scar tissue, I am sky's the limit. This is a Final Four caliber team. They need to get there. I'm going to be a little disappointed. And that would be fair. But there's a lot of older Purdue fans where, again, I get it. There's a lot of scar tissue, even the last 5 years, even last year with St. Peter's. I get it. I get the cautious optimism. Yeah. But as a number one overall seed, right, you're going to have the easiest path available to you in theory. Absolutely. And that's one of those things where it's almost like Gonzaga, you know? Yeah. Like Gonzaga at one time, it was, wow, they're advancing. Look at the Zags over, and now it's expected. And I think that Purdue, they were kind of like old Gonzaga, right? Sure. Like it's like, all right, well, matchups, give them the benefit of the doubt. And now it's like they should be new Gonzaga this season. It should be expected that they advance far. And Lord knows they have the resources to do it, right? Like your overall comparison is about the strides they've made in the tournament and where their program was prior to that success versus resources. Sure. Matt Painter has all those. Not that Mark Few doesn't. He's built a powerhouse there, but it's the Big Ten. It's always going to win out at the end of the day, and it's Purdue. However, to your point, you've become spoiled a little bit to a point where now it's like, man, that's the third time in the last 5 years that better guard play has gotten us, or we've gotten beat late by a Cinderella team. So I think that if you're either a neutral or you are a Purdue fan that doesn't have all that scar tissue, I would have more pump the chest, like, yes, this is a team that I'm ready to make a deep run and get to the Final Four. I think look, I'm from South Bend, so I grew up on Notre Dame football, okay? I have a reversible jacket. I own that. My grandpa went to Notre Dame. I feel you. Jimmy Cook, my man. Crossing paths right there. We just did the whole, bro hug right here. Yep. Yeah, but look, man, there are a lot of loony Notre Dame fans that are expecting national championships each and every year, and it makes zero sense a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. As a diehard Notre Dame fan, I'd be the first one to tell you that. But the flip side of that is, I think there's something wrong at times with not having high expectations. Yeah. If you've got the goods, if you have a lot of strengths, and yet you still don't have high expectations, what's the deal there? I don't understand when if we're playing Texas Hold'em, and you've got the better starting hand, and you have lesser expectations than your opponent, like, what are you doing? Yeah, why are you doing it to begin with? Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I think that's where Purdue is right now. I think you should have high expectations. I think it should be Final Four or bust. And I'm sure if you gave Matt Painter, I know you gave Matt Painter truth serum, he feels that way. I'm sure the players feel that way. I'm sure the athletic department feels that way. But I again, there's so much, whether you want to call it Cubs fans, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. The Boilermakers have that just as much as any other team that's had their heartbreak or struggles within the big dance. But yeah, you just hope that eventually, and the Zags didn't do it, but they got darn close twice. You hope they're going to break through. And it has not happened yet for Matt Painter's group.
Yeah. Well, this could be the year. We shall see. All right, we got a lot to get to. We got to get to the mood lighting in the studio. Very nice. Very beautiful right here.
It got dark, and then these lights became...
It's like a restaurant.
Revsine was just talking sweet nothings about the Big Ten.
I heard like a violin in the background. I'm like, what happened with the lights over here? We got to get to that. Also, we'll get to some sports here. Man, you talk about being prisoner of the moment. This is a great example of it. I'm not sure you're going to agree, but I'm going to lay out my stance for you right around the corner. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. Keep it locked right here. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Helzberg Diamonds presents the holy grail of engagement rings. Michael was getting engaged and needed a ring, but not just any ring, the engagement ring. The kind that when he saw it, he'd just know. So Michael looked around online, asked friends for advice.
I want a ring that's special. One that's, You gotta go to Helzberg.
Michael went to Helzberg Diamonds, where he found an incredible selection of beautiful rings, settings, and both lab-grown and natural diamonds, certified and guaranteed to be of the highest quality. He also met Sarah, a Helzberg Diamond expert, who helped him find that special ring he was looking for, so that when his fiancée opened the box...
Wow, it's...
Yep, sounds right to me. Be like Michael. Find the engagement ring of her dreams at a Helzberg store near you or online at helzberg.com. And right now at Helzberg Diamonds, take advantage of special financing offers.
To everyone who believes in tradition, let our team member Caitlin share one that's been at the heart of Culver's since the beginning.
In Wisconsin, we love a good fish fry, like really love. And bringing friends and family together over a fresh meal is how we've always done it at Culver's. It's why we still hand batter our North Atlantic cod to order and cook it to crispy, golden perfection. Sharing our Wisconsin favorites with all of you, that's what really makes our day.
Come to Culver's and get a taste of our fish fry tradition.
From Wisconsin with love.
Welcome to Delicious. To everyone who needs a little delight in their day, let our team member Paul tell you about one of our favorite sweet treats.
Making special moments at mealtime is a tradition in Wisconsin. And what better way to sweeten your day than a blue spoonful of a Culver's concrete mixer? We handcraft our fresh frozen custard with your favorite mix-ins, so every bite is exactly the way you like. From caramel to your favorite candies like crispy, crunchy Butterfinger.
Come to Culver's and let us make your day a little bit sweeter. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
Find your outdoor adventure at the Ford 68th Annual Indianapolis Boat Sport and Travel Show, February 17th through 19th and 22nd through 26th at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Over 750,000 square feet of the latest boats, RVs, power sports, motorcycles, Tackletown USA, travel destinations from across North America, and much more. Save money and buy tickets online at IndySportShow.com. And don't miss the 25th Annual Indiana Deer, Turkey, and Waterfowl Expo during the final 4 days of the sports show, February 23rd through 26th at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. It's the largest hunting expo in the Midwest, displaying the latest hunting, archery, and waterfowl gear. Hunting outfitters from around the globe. Learn from the pros at the Hunting Seminar Series. Get your deer scored and see the Hoosier Record Book Hall of Fame. One ticket gets you into both shows. Save money and buy tickets online at IndySportShow.com. Another Renfro production.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Are you dealing with foot, knee, hip, or back pain? We can help. Hi, this is Phoebe with the Good Feet store, and I want to talk about your discomfort. Did you know that your feet have a quarter of all the bones in your whole body? With 4 arches, 33 joints, and over 100 ligaments and tendons in each foot, it's no wonder so many people suffer from foot, knee, hip, and back pain. Stop throwing your money away on all those over-the-counter products and expensive shoes that just can't do what the Good Feet store can. At America's Arch Support Store, we teach you everything you need to know about how our patented 3-step system will work to solve your problems so you can get back to living the life you love without your pain getting in the way. Come in today for your free personalized fitting and test walk and trade in those bad feet for some good feet. Don't just live with the pain. Discover your options at the Good Feet store. We're in Fishers and Greenwood. Call 829-1040 or visit goodfeet.com to make your appointment today. Get back to doing what you love with Arch Supports from the Good Feet store.
Fed Chair Powell said home values will likely continue to erode for some time. Now is the smart time to lock in your home's current higher value, get paid in cash, and not have to move. Learn more at truehold.com.
The Ride with JMV.
Rick Venturi from the radio network, the former NFL coach, is with us. I think Chris Ballard recalibrates what he envisions in a football team.
In my opinion, I don't think this is any time for conservatism. I don't even like the joke of trading back, to be honest with you. I don't even like the quip. I think that we have to get to 1.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.
We're through a process of we're having different voices on the Fan over the last 2 months. And for the second time, I was over at the same friend's house watching a sporting event, and I saw your text, and I'm like, it happened again. So I was like, hey, I'm sorry, I've watched the first half of that you gave. Do you mind if we do this at halftime? So
no, it's all good, man. I'm just giving you a hard time. It's all good. But you are a Chiefs fan.
I am. I've made it abundantly clear for the audience. I apologize.
So I think this is the perfect. I could not have concocted this any better. Okay? Because the Chiefs had their championship celebration yesterday.
They did.
They had their rally. We've got NFL Network on in the studio. We're watching it. All these Chiefs fans going crazy. There's Andy Reid. There's Big Red.
How about those Chiefs?
Gotta love it. Gotta have that in there. And I wanted to circle back to something that Ryan Clark at ESPN said.
Oh, you're entering dangerous waters because Clark has said some wild takes about the Chiefs over the last 2 years. Go ahead.
And I preface this, I love Ryan Clark.
I
think he's bright. I think he's got some really smart things to say. I don't agree with everything. This is one thing I passionately disagree with. Okay. Here is Ryan Clark on SportsCenter with SVP.
To me, Patrick Mahomes is already top 3 all time. You're going to include him in conversations with Joe Montana and Tom Brady.
What? What are we talking about here? Top 3 all time? We've got him already up there with the GOAT and Joe Montana. I don't know. I'm just looking out over here. Where am I right? Oh, I see. I see the big circle right outside. Oh, we're in the heart of Indianapolis over here. There is a man who wet himself numerous times in the playoffs. I'm not saying he walks on water over here, but there's a man named Peyton Manning that Patrick Mahomes is certainly on the right track to pass him eventually. To make it sound like he's already done that, if Mahomes in that championship celebration just said, you know what, guys, I'm good. I've won 2 Super Bowls already, 2 MVPs. I'm just going to go do something else. I retire.
He's a Hall of Famer tomorrow.
Absolutely he is.
And Peyton said as much because the TMZ reporter hounded him about it.
For sure.
Poor athletes trying to catch a cab. Hey, you think Mahomes?
Of course he's a Hall of Famer right now. But
go on.
That's not what Ryan Clark said. He didn't say he's a Hall of Famer today. He said he's top 3 already. That is absurd. That is prisoner of the moment defined. And although Mahomes is outstanding, that's the only thing with these comparisons where it sounds like you're dogging the other guy. I'm not. I'm just saying there's something to be said for longevity. There's something to be said for Peyton Manning throwing for over 70,000 yards and doing it for as long as he did. Mahomes has been brilliant. It's been 6 years he's been in the NFL. He hasn't surpassed Peyton Manning yet. Sorry.
So a couple things with this. First off, it's great radio. Not very happy with you putting me against the city of Indianapolis here. They already beat the Chiefs in week 3. We hung a banner. Everybody had a good time. But here we are now in this boat.
Best team in the National Football League, Jimmy.
They did. Hang the banner. A transitive property. Super Bowl champions.
Oh, by the way, why is this a rebuilding year?
Exactly.
Where is this coming from?
There's no where. I will pull it up for you in the break. This is a bad idea because Shane Steichen just hired a couple days ago. Don't bring me in the weeds there because multiple people every year pick the Chargers to win the West. This is the year the Chargers make it. Russell Wilson is in Denver.
You're the third highest odds-on favorite to win the whole league.
That's not what
and
a guy like Travis Kelce's talking about.
Mahomes said this yesterday.
Mahomes said it yesterday. And if you go look at either talking point pieces or articles covering the team, I'm not talking about Vegas odds. Because, yes, you're right on that. They were third or fourth favorite to win the whole thing and probably still were the betting favorite to win the division. It was much closer than it had been in years past. But, yes, any talking point piece or even, I'm sure you can find a Ryan Clark soundbite talking about it, too. That's what ESPN does nowadays.
I like this.
Is they talk about whatever's hot and whatever will stoke the fire because no more than last year, Patrick Mahomes is washed. Patrick Mahomes is in trouble.
I like it.
From Ryan Clark.
I like it. You are in Mama Bear mode. You are protecting
I'm protecting
your Chiefs cub over here. You are
protecting. That's a little
protecting.
blasphemous. I don't think anyone said Patrick Mahomes was washed.
I might be over-exaggerating slightly, but it was annoying enough that it is the talking head pundit cycle of where is the wind blowing, what will get the most traction and clicks. At that time when Kansas City was struggling, it was maybe Mahomes doesn't have it. Maybe we're too close to crown him.
Okay.
And now it is third of all time. To be clear, it's tough for me and tough for the audience to feel like I'm giving an objective answer because I'm a Chiefs fan.
I don't need objectivity. I want entertainment.
I won't give you objectivity then.
This is a dangerous route.
Prior to Mahomes coming in, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback I've ever seen play the position. I've always thought that. He makes throws I've never seen another
Aaron
quarterback play.
Aaron Rodgers is so overrated, it's not even funny.
Can I get to the second half?
Yes. Yeah, we'll circle back to that one.
He was it wasn't Brady, wasn't Manning. And for a while, I was team Manning over Brady in that run until Brady did what he did in the second half of his career. It's tough to have an argument. Do I think he's top 3? No, I think that's probably too early. And I also hate legacy talks because he's only 27.
That's exactly.
Let it build, let it breathe.
Yeah.
I don't need to know that he is. And I'm going to give a shout out to him because no one knows this name, but a local host in Kansas City, his name's Joshua Briscoe. He gave a comment that is not hyperbole. It's not too much for the moment. He's a Mount Rushmore quarterback for me right now.
Oh, that's crazy.
He's there. No, that's not saying he's the best ever, but he's either right there or he's in that conversation. For me, he's there. He's a Mount Rushmore quarterback for me.
If he's Mount Rushmore, you're saying he's at worst top 4 all time already.
Am I banking on, even if it's not Super Bowls, if it's a couple more MVPs, am I banking on?
No more. No more, a couple more, no more nothing. We're saying his career ends now. He's already
he gets in a snowboarding
there.
accident.
For me personally, yes, he's on Mount Rushmore. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets in a snowboarding accident tomorrow, Jimmy. Career's over.
That's nice. Is he also seen wandering Kansas City during a national championship game, just trying to live his life? Is that
but that's the thing is we can't really wrap our mind around if it ended today.
Sure.
Like he just walks away. He's retired, never comes back again. He's already top 3, top 4 already?
2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and the numbers that he had. Again, there'll be a lot of what ifs to that conversation, but if someone looked at me and said he is visually, not from a numbers standpoint, visually, the things he does, the way he extends plays, the throws he makes, whether it's sidearmed, whether it's just somehow on one leg, still throwing it 50 yards downfield.
Right.
If somebody told me he's the best player I've ever seen, I'm not going to hear an argument about it.
But that's the difference. away from the visual thing, and I agree with you, he's majestic. He's ridiculous.
But if it's accolades,
but it's right. It's not just visual.
What's the benchmark?
Look at it like this: what are you getting? What are you getting? So if you look at Peyton Manning, I'll just throw out a name: Peyton Manning. What you got from Peyton Manning? You got 17 years. You got over 71,000 passing yards. You got 539 touchdown passes. Like Mahomes, as great as he is, he's thrown 192. That's why it's insane to have legacy arguments already.
And I'm in agreement with you on that, which again, just to be clear, not to totally throw you under the bus, but that's why that was not on my show outline today, because I knew this would happen, because I'm either supposed to A, not defend Mahomes and be a bad fan, or B, defend Mahomes, and then it comes off as, local talk show host blasphemes against the greatest athlete that's ever walked the streets of this city, which I never would.
No.
Both can be true. I can say I think Mahomes is better and also tell you that Peyton Manning is one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. Like, I can have that belief, and that's fine. I'm not saying, oh, no, Peyton was garbage. Absolutely not.
Right.
Peyton is one of the most accomplished quarterbacks to ever play. That's why, to your point, I hate the legacy talk, because his career's not done.
Yeah.
But if you back me into a corner, I'm going to be honest with you. Yes, I think he's the best quarterback I've ever seen play the position. I do.
But that's a different argument than what have you gotten.
And that's what I'm asking
Mahomes
you. What
versus
matters more to you? Because if it's rings,
right,
let's sit here and be honest.
Yeah.
He's never getting there. Wins, in my mind, wins are not a quarterback stat in my mind. It is a team game. Does that mean that Brady didn't make great plays in all those Super Bowls? Of course he did. But a lot of it is circumstance. He's never going to get there. They might, genuinely, this league is so hard, they might never get there again. Colts fans feel the same way right now. They just want a quarterback, but the overall thought when you don't have that QB for Colts fans right now is, will we ever win another game? Will we ever win the South? And then your expectations build up. But realistically speaking, what the Chiefs are doing right now, what the Patriots did the decade before, it's not normal place in this league.
No,
so that's
it's
why
not.
rings are, if that's the conversation, if
Right.
that's the table, is rings.
Well,
it's
but
Brady, and that's it.
Brady's
That's it.
he's in a league of
He's
his
the greatest
own.
of all time. That's
right.
it.
And then it's Montana, and then you get to the other two spots if you're talking Mount Rushmore. I didn't know we were doing Mount Rushmore here
I didn't mean to do that, but I felt like that was better than.
You're good. No, but what it comes back to is ultimately it is prisoner of the moment defined. It was, we just saw Mahomes win again on the biggest stage. He's done this before. Therefore,
that's the other thing. He has the body of work. He has
number
comeback
3
wins.
all time.
He has signature playoff moments.
It's insane. You know, like when I watch the Pacers and they're playing the national anthem and they show the chair, right? And it's prisoner of war, missing in action. My dad was in Vietnam, so I love that. I love that they do that. I've got an idea. Prisoner of the moment, I want another chair in the Pacers arena behind the vending booth right there with the biggest beam right in front of the chair, because that's the view prisoner of the moment should have. It should be the worst seat in the house. But it happens all the time. It's total knee-jerk reaction mode. Peyton Manning has over 300 more touchdown passes than Mahomes, and Mahomes has passed him with the same number of rings. It's insane.
Let's entertain the idea that he's healthy and he plays.
He will. He will surpass him. He hasn't yet.
And that's the fine line, because I feel like you maybe inadvertently are treating it like we're talking about if Zach Wilson had one great season, and I know that's a bad example, but he's bad, right? Like that's pretty consensus around the league. Or like if Baker Mayfield suddenly won a Super Bowl and he had a great year where he led the league in passing yards, if after one blip in the radar, you're like, oh, he's the greatest of all time. That's knee-jerk. For me, is this still knee-jerk? Yes. But it is to a point that he's going to, I feel, if you could bet me a futures bet, we're all gamblers, is he going to pass Manning in passing yards and Manning in touchdowns?
Well, I don't know about that, but
I don't think he'll get to Brady.
Will he have a better legacy than Peyton Manning? Absolutely. I bet everything I own right now.
But yes, that's why I hate the legacy conversation, because A, it irks people. B, you tick off a number of different fan bases inadvertently. And C, the career's not done.
That's the crux of sports radio,
which is
Jimmy.
why I hate it, but I love it. I hate it, but I love it. It's like P90X.
Yeah, that's why you go to your Twitter feed and you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I need a vacation. That's what it's built on right there. No doubt about it. All right, we got a lot to do.
Peyton's still awesome. Don't get my metrics.
You hate
Don't
Peyton
me.
Manning. We've finally unearthed
I
that
watch
today.
all Peyton's places. Don't get mad at me. I watch the Manning cast.
Very good job he does on that.
they're
Very
awesome.
entertaining. Very well done. Okay, coming up next, the former teammate that called Buddy Hield an a-hole, and it's a compliment. That's on the way. I'm Brian Noe. He is Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Window Nation has the coolest deal ever for keeping you warm. Get 2 windows free with every 2 you buy with 0 down payment, 0 monthly payments, and pay 0 interest for 24 months. Now is the perfect time to take advantage of Window Nation's deep discounts, all while reinvesting in your biggest asset. Not to mention the savings on your energy bills for years to come. Up to 43% of your home utility bill goes to heating and cooling. With new Window Nation windows, you can cut those energy bills during these cold winter months by keeping your hot air in and the cold air outside. Go with the window company that has installed over 1 million windows in over 150,000 homes, all with 96% customer satisfaction. Now's the time to upgrade the look and feel of your home, all while saving thousands on your energy bills. Call 866-90NATION and get 2 windows free with every 2 you buy with no limit, plus make no down payment, no payments, and pay no interest for 24 months. This offer won't last long. Call Window Nation today, 866-90NATION, or go to windownation.com. Tell them Kevin Bowen sent you.
Hey, it's JMV for the 14 Central Indiana Joe Childers Run. CarX locations helping you maintain your winter road readiness. How about saving $140 off select Continental tires with the purchase of the CarX Premium Installation Oil Change is starting at just $24.99, and you can save $25 off service over $100. The 14 Central Indiana CarX locations helping you stay winter road ready. To find the location nearest you, CarX.com today. Hey, it's JMV. Remember the last time you took a trip? You know, that one where everyone would not stop talking in the morning about your snoring. You might have put up a good front, but you know you were embarrassed. Why don't you do something about it before the next trip? My friends at Aurora Sleep can set you up with a simple, comfortable, and non-invasive mouthpiece that will help you out. Get a better night's sleep while stopping your snoring. Stop being the butt of jokes and hit up Dr. Green at Aurora Sleep before your next trip. StopYourSnoreNow.com today. JMV here for my guys Johnny, Chris, Love at Love Heating and Air Conditioning. The groundhog said 6 more weeks of winter, and you need to make sure your furnace is safe, efficient, and working properly before you have a breakdown on a sub-zero day. Get the recommended service now from Love Heating and Air Conditioning, and the Love family will waive the $95 trip and diagnostic fee. These are the guys I trust in my home. I love the guys at Love. You will too. That's love-hvac.com or 317-754-0754. Tell them JMV sent you.
Indy's #1 for new country.
I got some famous friends.
Nobody plays more new country. 97.1 Hank FM. Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Eddie, you got any Slayer over there? Got any like Lamb of God, any heavy metal stuff?
I can give it to you.
Okay, all right. Look forward to that. What do you get down with there, Jimmy Cook? What kind of
It's a bit of a smorgasbord.
Yeah.
I love hip hop.
You put the H in I go smorgasbord. I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's kind of like a tomato.
Yes.
You go smorgasbord.
Yeah. I've never realized that is a tomato.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. So I do. I put the H. So I have a little smorgasbord of of musical taste. Everything from a little hip hop and rap is on there. I love a good catchy get stuck in your head pop tune. I love some mainstream stuff. But then, and I've said this on the show before, my late father was born in 1930, so I have a lot of Sinatra, a lot of Dean Martin, a lot of Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah.
So a lot of oldies on there too. Good little blend.
There you go.
What about you? You mentioned heavy metal there.
Heavy metal is my go-to.
Go-to? Okay.
Nothing moves me like heavy metal does,
awesome.
but I'm very eclectic. Like my minor, I went to Ball State, was the college I went to. My minor was classical guitar.
That's awesome.
That's what I minored in.
That's
where you
so
have to have
cool.
the little stool for your foot. I don't know what they're called, but yeah, you got to do the whole.
I'm nodding like I know, but I have no idea. But I got you.
Yeah, the little footrest or whatever. Like you got to be very official when you play classical guitar. Okay, so one of Buddy Hield's teammates, his ex-teammates, gave him a great compliment. He called him an a-hole. Okay, now this is Iman Shumpert. Listen to it, because we play this because Buddy Hield just surpassed Reggie Miller for the single-season Pacers record, most three-pointers made. So
is he better than Reggie? See, that's knee-jerk. That's a pass right there.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that. We'll circle back to that. But this is Iman Shumpert, former teammate with the Kings, what he had to say about Buddy Hield. Check this out.
Buddy Hield is what I'm talking about when I say a complete ass, and not an ass with how he takes direction or anything like that, but an ass in the regard that I could look you in the eye, buddy, and say, do not shoot this shot. I don't care how open it is. Don't shoot this shot. When I throw it to him, if a motherfucker ain't in his face all over him,
he's shooting it.
He's shooting it.
Yeah.
Because no amount of pressure, no side bet, it ain't nothing that could go on in his mind that make him feel like he's about to miss this shot. He is completely invested in saying, I've never missed a shot in my life. And I love it.
That's awesome. That's on the Bootleg Kev podcast. Iman Shumpert giving some major props to Buddy Hield. And look, man, props to Eddie Garrison. He was doing all this crack research before the show started. And it is fascinating how much the game has changed from Reggie's era to Buddy Hield's era. And this is not to take any shine away from Buddy Hield whatsoever. It's just a different game. Threes are being shot at a much more rapid rate. It's crazy how many things have changed between Reggie and Buddy Hield, where some of the stats here, the amount of times, Buddy Hield last night, he was 6 for 10 from three-point range. And so it just started a conversation before the show started. Hey, how many times had Reggie Miller shot 10 threes in a game? And so Reggie Miller, out of nearly 1,400 games played, he did that 64 times, where he attempted 10 three-pointers. Buddy Hield, as again, Eddie did all this research, props to him, 42 times just as a pacer he's done that. In 86 games, Buddy Hield has done that 42 times where he's attempted 10 three-pointers. That is nearing what Reggie Miller did for an entire career. So it's just a completely different game. And that, again, I want to restate it. Not to take shine away from Buddy. He's worked very hard. He is a very, very good three-point shooter. It's just a completely different game now. That's all.
And Reggie would say this as he said it when Ray Allen surpassed him and when Steph Curry subsequently surpassed him. That is part of the whole records are made to be broken type conversation where you can't imagine during your playing days, I wonder what the league's going to be like in 30 years. Like, right, a player's not thinking about that right now. But yeah, it's to your point, not taking anything away from Buddy, because that's life. Areas evolve across the board in life, and in the sports world, it's just the same. Offensive innovations, defensive innovation, whatever you want to go with. Right now, it's an offensive swing within the NBA and within the trickle-down effect of college hoops. But to that larger point, somebody like, hadn't really thought about it until yesterday. I was watching Pacers and Bulls, and somebody's like, man, I can't believe he already broke it. There's 20 games left. And at first I kind of looked at him, because I love the NBA, and I was like, well, I mean, it's a different style. But then you sit and think about it. Yeah, it is crazy. Not that he passed him, but just how much the game has totally, even off of a 20-year sample size, completely done a 180 for what matters.
And that's a great example of it can be both.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit of nuanced thing. We live in this black and white world, it seems like, especially in the sports world, where if you're not saying Buddy's awesome, it's not about era, like, you can say both things. Buddy Hield has done a great job, and the era is totally different with the amount of threes that are being shot. Like, both things are true.
We were just discussing with that point about records and if they could be broken or not, regardless of style of play. And I guess this is one that maybe this is another save it for a cold take. Mike Chappell talked about this earlier in the week, I think, on Twitter at mchappell51. But I really genuinely don't think Emmitt Smith's record's ever going to get broken. That is one I feel locked into.
Interesting.
Because
two-headed monsters, right?
Running backs don't have that kind of longevity anymore to even get there. And I know people said the same thing with when Walter Payton had, it's never going to get. The closest in the last 15 years has been Frank Gore, who still somehow eked out and was on the back end of that last age of running backs going to play until they can't move anymore.
Much more passing league.
Adrian Peterson and Daniel Thomason.
I like, because there are some records that are so far out, like no one's breaking, insert the blank here.
And nobody
the most wins in baseball for a starting pitcher. Like, some of that stuff's unreachable, but that is a reachable record that probably will not be reached.
For a number of different reasons. Yeah. Running backs don't last as long. Teams do not value running backs as long payment-wise. Yeah, just across the board, that's one that, unless there's a major shift in the way running backs are treated, I don't know it's ever going to get snapped.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting comment right there. There he is. Jimmy Cook, I'm Brian Noe. Coming up next, we'll talk to Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. Keep it locked right here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
To everyone who believes in tradition, let our team member Caitlin share one that's been at the heart of Culver's since the beginning.
In Wisconsin, we love a good fish fry, like really love. And bringing friends and family together over a fresh meal is how we've always done it at Culver's. It's why we still hand batter our North Atlantic cod to order and cook it to crispy golden perfection. Sharing our Wisconsin favorites with all of you, that's what really makes our day.
Come to Culver's and get a taste of our fish fry tradition.
From Wisconsin with love.
Welcome to Delicious. To everyone who needs a little delight in their day, let our team member Paul tell you about one of our favorite sweet treats.
Making special moments at mealtime is a tradition in Wisconsin. And what better way to sweeten your day than a blue spoonful of a Culver's concrete mixer? We handcraft our fresh frozen custard with your favorite mix-ins, so every bite is exactly the way you like. From caramel to your favorite candies like crispy, crunchy Butterfinger.
Come to Culver's and let us make your day a little bit sweeter. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
Hey, it's Dan Dockich here. You know, for years on my radio show, I asked people to help me out. I needed a treatment, aches and pains. I couldn't lose weight. Well, guess what? I found a solution. I did. Affinity Whole Health. All you've got to do is go to feelgreatindy.com and look into it for yourself. The testosterone program that I am on has been a godsend. I've missed no workouts in 6 months. No more aches and pains. And I have lost weight. FeelGreatIndy.com is the place to go. Get started just like I did.
Dave Machine is the co-owner of B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Drains, your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. And he goes over just some of the perks you get for being a Premier Club member.
We're going to come out in the spring and fall and check all your electrical connections, check your gas pressure if you have a gas furnace. If you have electric furnace, we're going to check the voltage and the amps going through there and your airflow and make sure you're all ready. We're also going to leave you some extra filters so you can change them until we're there on the next visit.
Go to bplusw.com for B&W, your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Need new tires? Skip the long appointments and bad coffee. With Go Mobile Tires Indy, order tires online and have them installed at your home or office. GoMobileIndy.com. We come to you.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB. WIBC HD3 W228CX Indianapolis. The NBA's best meet in Salt Lake City for the 72nd All-Star Game. Sunday night at 7 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Well, she was at 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. We want to welcome in Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, joining us here on The Fan. Good afternoon, Matt. Hope all is well. We just kicked around a simple question here today. What would make you happy as a Colts fan this year, in the year 2023, within reason, of course? What would be a couple of the things on your list that would make you happy if the Colts did fill in the blank?
Oh, man. Well, I guess, don't go, 1-7 or whatever it was towards the back half of last year and, score a lot more touchdowns, make the playoffs, have some stability at the quarterback position. Yeah, I mean, those are all things that I think would put a smile on my face, make things enjoyable, and I'm sure would brighten up a lot of Colts fans, fandom, if you will, towards the back half of hopefully what is a good 2023.
Man, I know there's a lot of sadness and frustration to an extent from the way, maybe not the last full 2 years have gone, but in particular this past season. We talked about it, about the Pacers as well, just a lot of losing at times. But the Pacers this year, young core. Again, I know they've had a tough losing streak recently, but there's more games in the NBA. We'll let that part slide. But the fan base is the same, right? You want to see positive growth. You want to see a return to hope and belief in this franchise. Where is your needle moved with the hiring of Shane Steichen in that regard? And then just overall the preparation for what they're ultimately going to do in April's draft?
Well, I think my optimism just relies, obviously, on the offensive side of the ball. When you look at the success that the Eagles have had the last 2 years, and specifically last year in 2022, I mean, they're top 10 in everything, yards and points and red zone and third down.
I mean, these are all areas. I mean, situational football is really where the Colts struggled last year. You know, getting off to fast starts. You know, the Colts, I think, only scored 20 points all season on their opening possessions of games. And if you look at the Eagles, that number was 62. They're really good in fourth quarter. So kind of like the minutia of offense, they were just really good and top tier in just about everything that they did. Now they've got great players, right? I mean, they had 6 Pro Bowlers on that side of the ball with Jalen Hurts and Kelce at center, and then a bunch of skill players and Smith and A.J. Brown. So that certainly makes life easier, but he's still the guy that is orchestrating that thing and calling the plays and designing the offense, and he's done it and has had success with a variety of different quarterbacks. I think that's been well chronicled with, you know, Phillip Rivers and Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. These are all different guys. They have different levels of mobility and athleticism and arm strength, and he's just had a high success with all of them, and I think that gives you optimism going forward. And I think also, too, and this is just sort of like the big picture NFL fan in me, is that the NFL is built for parity. I mean, we see every game seemingly comes down to the fourth quarter. All of these games are decided by 7 points or less. And every year in the NFL playoffs, I mean, it's been 32 consecutive years where at least 4 teams make the playoffs that did not the year before. And that number this past playoff run was 7. There were 7 teams that made the playoffs in 22 that didn't in 21. And we always routinely talk about teams going from worst to first in their division, a la the Jacksonville Jaguars this past year. So I don't think the cupboard's bare for the Colts. In fact, I'm actually pretty optimistic that Shane Steichen can reboot this offense with Jonathan Taylor, some core pieces along the offensive line, with Michael Pittman Jr., some big play threats like Alec Pierce and Jelani Woods. He can come in and put a stamp on this thing with the quarterback that they pick, however they decide to go that route, and be able to make it work. And I think this thing can go from, obviously pretty depressing towards the end of last year to pretty optimistic to 2023, because that's the league. That's the way this is set up, with an inverse draft order and all of that. So I think the parity in the league plus Steichen plus the pieces that the Colts have gives me a little bit more optimism, certainly in February than I did in mid-December.
Matt, I'll be honest with you. At first, when you mentioned playoffs, my initial reaction was like, yeah, that's a long shot. But the more you talk, you're absolutely making sense, and I'll meet you halfway, because I think back to the Bengals. They were 4-11-1 the season before. They almost won a Super Bowl. That's crazy. And then you look at the same AFC South. Last year, Jacksonville was 3-14, and then they end up winning the South. Now, granted, those quarterbacks were in year 2. We're assuming that there's going to be a top draft pick in year 1 for the Colts. But with all that being said, how realistic do you think it is that when the season's over, we're looking at the Colts in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, obviously there's a ton that's going to, transpire between now and then. The Colts still have to make a decision on what they do in the draft and, what they decide to do with, quarterbacks on the roster right now, and Nick Foles and Matt Ryan. But I think if you're just going to talk big picture again in mid-February about the lot that the Colts are in right now in the AFC, they got the work cut out for them. And I know I'm talking optimistic, but I'm also real in the sense that the AFC is incredibly loaded. These guys aren't going anywhere. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, they're already a dynasty. They're not going anywhere. The Bills aren't going anywhere. The Bengals aren't going anywhere. I mean, to your point, Zach Taylor was going to get fired prior to the 21 season had they not gone on that run to the AFC Championship game and ultimately the Super Bowl in Joe Burrow's third year or second year on the job. So obviously you've got to nail quarterback in this offseason for the Colts. And, what we've been saying internally on our content, if you will, really since the end of the season, there are a lot of foundational pieces that are being put into place right now. That's the biggest key. It's, the word foundation this offseason. This is going to lay the foundation for really the next 5 to 10 years for this franchise, with having to make a huge decision on head coach, who we come to find out is also going to call plays, It's primarily going to be his system on offense, tailored to, the quarterback that they choose, plus the quarterback that could be the franchise guy if they decide to go that route, picking in the top 5 in the lottery, if you will, of this draft. So the major decisions that they're going to have to make, one of them they've already made, but in about a 2-month span, it really is going to set up the Colts with hopefully a lot of success. But the foundation of that success, that's going to be laid between now and May.
Matt Taylor taking some time with us on the Mower Shop and Fishers hotline here from the DriveHubler.com studios. Matt, you mentioned the fact that Shane Steichen, at least from the press conference, that he's going to be the one calling plays here. We had Dave Spadaro on PhiladelphiaEagles.com yesterday, and he mentioned that Sirianni had done that his initial year and then eventually kind of relinquished play calling duties. It's all about style and feel for a coach, how much responsibility they want, where do they want to focus their energy. You know that. Do you think that is something that will be in the long-term cards for him, or could you see that being, as he gets familiarized as being a head honcho, that maybe it is better off still having some input but passing it along to an OC someday?
Yeah, I think time will tell on that. Nick Sirianni, the way that he put it was, I just kind of had a lot on my plate, and I'm thinking about, I'm playing this game of chess in my brain throughout the course of the game, trying to call the plays, trying to do the game management stuff, trying to be 2 and 3 play calls ahead of where I'm at right now and thinking about strategy. And then I've got people in my ear saying, call timeout, or don't call timeout, or challenge, don't challenge, or go for it here. And it's not that he didn't trust those people. It's just I want to have supreme confidence in that whatever I'm hearing in my ear about game strategy, I don't have to second guess, or I don't have to think about a shadow of a doubt that they could be wrong, because you have to make all of those decisions in a really short amount of time, considering the fast-paced nature of the game and the play clock and all of that. But I think Shane Steichen, just getting to know him a little bit, reading about him, researching him, hearing him talk, he's a very sharp guy. He can process a lot in a short amount of time. And I actually think it's really important that he calls plays, to be honest with you. Why wouldn't you want him to call plays? Because, he's orchestrated an Eagles offense that's just been so dynamic the last couple of years. And, the level of optimism pairing Jonathan Taylor with his creativity and his schemes within the running game, considering the Eagles have rushed for over 5,000 yards combined in the last 2 years, led the NFL in rushing each of the last 2 campaigns. So why wouldn't you want him dialing up his offense and working, so close with a young quarterback, again, if the Colts decide to go that route in the draft? But that being said, you also, the other side of that coin is you have to surround yourself with people that you really trust and that you're confident in, that can give you in time intelligent feedback on how to manage the game. Again, call timeouts, how to just strategize, these late, 4-minute drills or 2-minute drills. Because again, what you're hearing in your headset, you don't want to, feel reluctant to go with. You want to make sure the people that are, you're entrusting to do game management are doing just that, so that you can focus on the play. So I'm not saying it's not going to work out, but I like the fact that he's, going to call plays initially, but he's also said that, hey, if it's not going well, or I think I need to pivot, he's comfortable doing that. But I think it makes a lot of sense, considering his success, that he comes in right away and calls the plays for this Colts offense.
He's Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, here on The Fan with us. Matt, of course, Jim Irsay the other day said he likes the Alabama quarterback, and caused a lot of waves right there.
By the way.
You do? That's why I was going to ask you. Do you have a strong opinion on any of the top prospects in the upcoming draft?
No, I don't. I'm not there yet. I'm not in terms of just, I'm surface level on the draft as of right now. It's just all been sort of regrouping after the season, and then, sort of waiting and researching some of these potential head coaching candidates. So now that there's a, coach in place, then we'll sort of go full bore into the intricacies of these draft quarterbacks. But I think the consensus is, based on what I'm reading and just hearing other people that are certainly more dialed into the college game than I am, is that, I think it's just sort of pick your flavor of the quarterback that you like. Some guys think that C.J. Stroud and Young are on the same plateau. Other people think that it's, young by, a pretty wide gap, then it's everybody else 2, 3, and 4 between Stroud and Levis or Richardson from Florida. So I just think it all boils down to the Colts' evaluation of those guys. Again, hypothetically, big if, right? If they decide to go that route in the draft, everybody thinks that they will, but you never know. But it's certainly going to be fascinating and interesting to see how this all plays out. Plus, the whole fact that the Chicago Bears are sitting there at number 1, and the history with Matt Eberflus and the Colts, and his intimate knowledge of this Colts roster, and the fact that they hypothetically don't need a quarterback, and they could get the best non-quarterback player in the draft by moving back to 4. What would it take to move up to number 1? Would it take next year's first-round pick for the Colts to go up to number 1, considering they'd be asking the Bears to only go down to 4? I mean, I'm talking in circles right now, and I can't even handle it, and we're mid-February. We still have, almost a month and a half, 2 months to talk about all of this. So it's fun. It's interesting. I know why people get into it. But I think the Colts right now are, they're sort of on the tip of the iceberg of all of their evaluation, as they have a lot more tape to pour over and interviews to do when it comes to separating these quarterbacks from another.
How dare you, by the way, for enjoying your well-deserved time off and spending time with your family and not diving into every ounce of college football film that you could have for these quarterbacks, Mate. I'm disappointed. You had an opportunity to sit down and talk with Coach Steichen, and I know that you guys had that on the Colts Podcast Network and the Colts Audio Network. I beg your pardon. With Coach, Brian actually brought this up earlier in the show in regards to why it's so interesting what quarterback they go with, because there's been so many different stylistic levels of QB that Coach Steichen has helped develop or squeeze the most he can out of over even the last 4 or 5 years as a coordinator in L.A. With Rivers and Herbert, and then, of course, with Hurts this past year. Sitting down, and I know you guys talked about that during that conversation, did you get a similar vibe of they'll find the guy they want, but it'll be somewhat based on the fact that Steichen's going to be able to get the most out of whoever it is in theory?
Yeah, and that's another component to this whole draft proposition. If hypothetically their evaluation tells them that there's not a big gap between, player A, who's the best quarterback in the draft, versus player B, then you just sort of sit back, and that's another school of thought. You sit at 4, knowing that you're comfortable getting whomever that player is, with not a lot of separation between 1 and 2, and knowing that, we've got a guy here as our head coach and sort of our de facto offensive coordinator and play caller that has had success working with all different styles of quarterbacks. So let's just sit at 4, not give up draft capital, and trust that he's going to be able to make it work, because he's proven he can do that. But I think big picture here, again, and I think this is every casual NFL fan saying this. Certainly Shane Steichen is saying this. I think the prerequisite now in the NFL is just what he alluded to the other day when he talked about what he's looking for in quarterback play. It's accuracy. It is high level of playmaking ability. It is IQ. It is smarts. It's intelligence. But it's also just, again, you've got to be able to make things happen when the pocket is not perfect. You have to have some mobility, athleticism, and again, I just go back to that word, playmaking ability. And I think all of those quarterbacks to a degree have that, but we're seeing that in the NFL. That is sort of, again, a prerequisite to advance to the divisional round, advance to the championship games, and get yourself into the Super Bowl. You don't have to be Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson, but Patrick Mahomes has escapability. He's got playmaking ability. So does Burrow. So does Josh Allen, so on and so forth. With all these quarterbacks in the AFC, you got to get a guy like that, I think, to just give yourself a fighting chance, because these defensive ends and, heck, these defensive tackles nowadays are way more athletic, and they have more speed. They've got more power than they ever have. And I think just gone are the days where you've got these, I hate to use the word pocket passers or statue-like quarterbacks, but I just think the game is shifting. The college game is, going up to the NFL, if you will. And I think that's what the coordinators are doing right now. They're having success with blending the NFL game and the college game with some of these quarterbacks. and they're not doing any one thing or two things exclusively, but they're able to put a package together where these guys can thrive by making plays with the read zone or the read option, or just having the ability to get out of the pocket, extend plays, and find guys down the field to get first downs or, to move the sticks inside the red zone, ultimately get in the end zone. So it's fun to see all the parity quarterback-wise in the AFC and what the Colts can do to give themselves a chance to compete with that by the moves they make in this offseason.
Matt, it seems like a long time away, the draft, a couple of months plus. So I realize we're in February and we're talking about what the crystal ball might see, but I mean, how much wheeling and dealing do you think we might see at the top of the draft where the Colts are at 4? There are certainly other very QB-needy teams. Do you have a gut feeling now as to what we might see when the first round rolls around in terms of teams moving up to get a quarterback for all the reasons that you just laid out?
Well, there's a chance. I mean, there's a decent chance. Again, the Chicago Bears are going to play this very intelligently. Again, they have a lot of leverage knowing that they have Justin Fields and they don't need a quarterback. And, we were just sort of kicking this around the other day. I mean, just sort of, in the break room when you have 5-10 minutes to yourself and you just sort of think about what this could look like. I mean, the fact that the Bears, if the Colts go up from 4 to 1, again, you're asking the Bears to just drop down a handful of spots, knowing they could still get a premium player at a premium position, not at the quarterback spot. And, if you're the Colts, you'd be saying, well, we don't want to give up our first-round pick in 2024 because you're going to go down only 3 spots and get a great player. Now, you might be asking us for our second-round pick or our third-round pick, or maybe you want a player on the roster. But let's keep our first round pick for next year. But then the Chicago Bears might say, well, I'm going to get off the phone with you. I'm going to take a phone call from the Houston Texans, who are also in the market for a quarterback. And they might also covet the best quarterback in the draft. And they might be willing to give me their first round pick for next year. So now are you willing to go back to the offer table like we're buying a house and up, the asking price by $20,000 or $30,000 here, right? To kind of put it in the layman's terms. So I think there's a possibility that, this could get interesting, especially as we enter mid-March in free agency and creep towards the draft. A lot of moves to be made, and I think that the Chicago Bears hold, a pretty good deck in their hands, and it's going to be fascinating to see how they play it and what kind of leverage they might try to pull on some of these teams at the top of the draft that need a quarterback to get up to number 1.
Voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, with us via the guest line here in the DriveHubler.com studios. You can follow him on Twitter at MayTayColts. Matt, and we all know this, but with free agency taking place before the draft and that getting started when the new league year begins, I believe, first or second week of March, whenever that officially clocks into play. For you, and you look at this roster, how aggressive do you anticipate the Colts will be, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, with what this free agent class presents?
Well, that's a good question. It's hard to say because, in the past, the Colts have always done a pretty good job of, putting values on players and sticking to that, sticking to their principles, being prudent in free agency. And if it doesn't work out with the guys in the top end of the first couple of days of free agent guys, right? I mean, March 15th is going to be the first day of the new league year, and the top guys go for top dollar on the 15th and the 16th and the 17th. And are those guys overpaid? Yeah, but they're also the top guys on the market, and teams, that's what you do. I mean, that's what the Jacksonville Jaguars did with, guys like Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, and to a degree, it worked out for them, right? Because they won the division, they won a playoff game, got back to, some franchise stability. So I think there's two different schools of thought there. But the Colts have some decisions to make on how aggressive they want to be at the skill position spots on offense to bolster that side of the ball with potentially a young quarterback. Also, too, I think it's going to be interesting how the Colts pitch themselves to free agents on the outside market, right? I mean, if you're a receiver on the open market, that happens chronologically in the calendar before the draft, and the Colts potentially wouldn't have a franchise quarterback taken at that point because the draft happens after free agency. So that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. But also, too, in-house free agents, some big ones. Paris Campbell, Ashton Dulin on that side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, Tyquan Lewis coming off another injury. Unique Ngakoue, Bobby Okereke at the linebacker position. Chase McLaughlin on special teams, who is so confident and stable at the kicking position. So I think there's a lot of different angles to look at this with the Colts going into free agency, both in-house on the open market and also how they decide to market themselves to outside free agents with the unknown of the quarterback position.
Matt, before you go, and we appreciate your time, do you think more or less of me that I literally celebrate the new league year as if it is New Year's Eve? I go crazy. I get balloons. I get silly string. I go nuts.
Champagne?
I haven't gotten champagne yet, but maybe. Do you think more or less of me for this habit of mine, Matt?
Well, I mean, I'm not one to judge anything, considering the nerddom and the dorkisms that I pull out on a daily basis. So for me, it's a very busy day of the year, given the position that the career that I have, if you will. You guys are in the same position, having to track it and follow it and stay up to date on it. I think from a sports fan standpoint, that day is just psychotic because you've got traditionally either conference championships or conference tournaments going on or the first round of the NCAA tournament going on. And then at the bottom line of the scroll, you're watching hoops, but then on the bottom line of the scroll, you've got all of these moves going on in free agency. This guy signs for this much money with this team, or, this player is being waived, or this guy's contract is being moved into a different realm of the business side. He's going to roll over money and all this stuff. So it is a very, very busy time of the year in mid-March. I'm sure, NCAA basketball doesn't like the fact that the NFL continues to kind of, disappear and then come back and overshadow some big moments on the sports calendar. But that is the beast that the NFL has created with, as soon as the Super Bowl is over, then you've got the combine, then it's free agency, then it's the draft, then it's the off-season workout program, and then boom, it's training camp again. So it really never goes away. So I'm with you. March 15th is a big day, and I'm excited for it, just like everybody else.
Oh, yeah, very excited for it. And we're a step closer to the draft when that rolls around for sure. But, Matt, appreciate your time today, man. Good to chat with you. Hope you have a good day.
I appreciate you guys. You too.
There he is, Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. I do wonder, Jimmy, Brian Noe and Jimmy Cook with you right here. So I'm curious if there is a team that will punt. This sounds crazy town right here, but follow me on this.
Okay.
I wonder if there is a quarterback-needy team that punts on drafting a top quarterback this year. Now, hear me out on this.
I've been thinking about this too.
Right?
Yes.
Think about it. If you aren't in love with any of these guys, if you say, hey, Bryce Young's a baller, but he's wiry, he's a small guy. C.J. Stroud, he doesn't move around that great. Will Levis, his decision-making is goofy. Same thing with Anthony Richardson. Whatever, right? Whatever reasons, you're just not in love with any of these quarterbacks, and you need a quarterback. Is there going to be a team that is disciplined enough to say, we're going to take our lumps for another year, another one, like DJ Khaled, and they say, Caleb Williams next year, Drake May next year? Will there be a team that does that? I'm fascinated by that. It's not who ends up with which quarterback this year. It's which team, if there is one, says, we're just going to wait until 2024.
Well, the fear of God is in the head of Colts fans right now because of the joke by Chris Ballard the other day. Again, I'm sure he was just being funny. I'm going to believe that until he shocks the world and trades back and everybody loses their minds collectively in the city. I think they're going to go quarterback. But that is fascinating. I have not thought of it from that angle, so I can't point to one team right now. I need to pull up the full draft order that would do it.
Yeah. I've got a team in mind.
Go ahead, then.
Houston.
Yeah.
That's my thought here.
Yeah,
DeMeco Ryans played with Houston in 2006. They had the first overall pick, did not take a quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think DeMeco Ryans said something along the lines of a couple of weeks ago when he was talking to the media, we have a quarterback. Do we need a quarterback is the question. So that's my thing. Houston's going to be somewhat bad next year. And if you don't like the three like you mentioned, Caleb Williams looks like a baller.
Yeah, just
Drake
wait.
May looks like a baller.
And you could trade down, too, if you, and acquire
and you have
even
so
more.
many holes on your team already.
I think that's a great one, Eddie. It's for the Houston Texans specifically. Do we like Bryce Young / CJ Stroud / more than Caleb Williams, Drake May? If the answer is no, then that's exactly what they should do, is not draft one of those quarterbacks. But they're in a different position. Their position is not the same position as the Colts, who have had retread after retread after retread. And it's a tough sell to be like, hey, how about just one more year of a retread? What do you guys think? And the city collectively is like, no, we think no is what we think. So it will be interesting to see what happens. All right, coming up next, we want to dive into this. There is a local player who did his impression of actor Shia LaBeouf. You know Shia LaBeouf over there, Jimmy?
I'm familiar with Shia LaBeouf, yes.
Shia LaBeouf has a famous expression, and I do think this local player channeled his inner Shia LaBeouf yesterday. Some details on that. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Bowling, 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 keep them balls a-rolling. Bowling, bowling, bowling. Royal Pin.
Looking for family fun or a night out with friends? Royal Pin Entertainment has you covered. Skip the line and make a reservation online at royalpin.com. Looking to host an event or have a small group? Royal Pin is here to help. Contact their sales team to get a deal on parties of 20 or more. Just email events@royalpin.com. With 3 convenient locations around Indianapolis, Royal Pin offers bowling, laser tag, mini golf, and arcades. Awesome family fun. Call your local center at 317-465-8484 or go to royalpin.com to get the ball rolling with Royal Pin.
Set them up, knock them down, send them flying, spinning round.
Call 317-465-8484 or go to royalpin.com today.
Royal Pin, bowling, bowling. Royal Pin, bowling.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a great escape. With 35 miles of white sand, there's no better place to get away. So let's explore the secluded beaches of Fort DeSoto or paddle our way around Honeymoon Island. Let's kick back, kayak, and catch crimson sunsets. Let's trade snow boots for bathing suits. Let's make today and tomorrow a beach day. Let's shine. Plan your escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Lowe's always has more ways for you to save. On top of our everyday low prices, pros can save big when buying in bulk. Or if your purchase is over $1,500, ask about our volume savings program. A pro associate can provide a customized quote. Ask about our volume savings programs today. It always pays to be a pro at Lowe's. While supplies last, minimum purchase required. Selection varies by location. Lowe's reserves the right to limit quantities. Volume discount pricing quotes are valid up to 7 days. Visit your local pro desk to learn more and start saving. Offers subject to change and may not be available in all Lowe's stores.
The Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE. It's electrified.
Boogie, woogie, woogie.
So you can boogie woogie woogie into the forest.
Boogie.
Boogie woogie woogie through the mud. Or boogie woogie woogie to work, where you boogie woogie woogie down the hall to your boss's office to tell him you quit.
Sure got the boogie.
Then you boogie woogie woogie to the elevator as he boogie woogie woogies after you, begging, please, take me with you.
Boogie.
The electrified Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE. Learn more at Jeep.com. Jeep is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
Hey, it's Stan Dockich here. You know, for years on my radio show, I asked people to help me out. I needed a treatment, aches and pains. I couldn't lose weight. Well, guess what? I found a solution. I did. Affinity Whole Health. All you've got to do is go to feelgreatindy.com and look into it for yourself. The testosterone program that I am on has been a godsend. I've missed no workouts in 6 months. No more aches and pains. And I have lost weight. feelgreatindy.com is the place to go. Get started just like I did.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Your home for Indy sports. Now with even more ways to listen.
Listen on air.
Online at 1075thefan.com.
And on our free app.
Stay connected to all things Indy sports, including the latest news, show blogs, and catch up on what you've missed with our podcast.
We're never more than just a click away.
Download our app at Google Play and on the App Store. From your home for Indy sports.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook here on The Fan. If you could just see Jimmy Cook banging his head like he is a metal guitarist right now, that's impressive. I'm picturing the long flowing locks. Remember when Jason Newsted was the bassist of Metallica and he would kind of do the windmill thing? That's what Jimmy Cook would be doing right now if he had the hair to do it.
I was back at Ball State, even though I didn't go there. The playoff earlier, I had my foot on the classical guitar pedal or whatever
For a second, I was like, you went there too,
No,
and you've been saying steadily through the show you've gone to IU.
A lot of buddies that went to Ball State.
Little love for the Cardinals over there. Very nice.
Shout out to Mike Lewis.
Nice. Very much
Coach
like
Lewis
that.
doing a great job there.
Yeah, I remember when I was in school, I'm dating myself now, but Bonzi Wells tried to spit game at a girl I knew. She was like, Bonzi Wells... It was like, hey, girl, or something. I was like, did you go over? She was like, no, I didn't like the way he said it. So that always pops into my head. So you remember Shia LaBeouf, the actor?
I am familiar with Shia LaBeouf.
Have you seen the movie Fury with Brad Pitt?
No.
Highly recommend it. I don't know your taste in movies, but great action movie. We're talking, I think it's around World War II era, but we're talking about like tanks and...
Remember the trailers, remember the hype around it.
Yeah.
Didn't see it.
Great movie. But Shia LaBeouf in that movie does an excellent job. But I don't know if you remember this from Shia LaBeouf. You remember this one?
Do it!
Yeah. There's a little bit more from Shia.
Just do it! Yes, you can! Just do it!
Okay. So that's Shia LaBeouf, one of his famous expressions over there. And I can't help but feel that way with the Indiana Pacers. We've been hearing so often about we just got to pay more attention to detail on the defensive end. We've just got to be more connected. We've just got to. And then yesterday against the Bulls, without DeMar DeRozan, they allowed 39 points in the first quarter. Unforgivable. And George Hill, God bless George Hill. He does his Shia LaBeouf impression and comes unglued in a timeout, and I swear he's telling him, just do it. And they finally did. They started defending. They come back. They beat the Bulls again in comeback fashion. But I don't know about you, Jimmy. I am sick and tired of hearing about the Pacers talking about what they need to do and not doing it. And they finally started to do it last night.
Words are empty if you keep saying the same thing over again and don't produce results for it. I'm less Shia LaBeouf rage territory with it because I know that's what they want to do, but there are still limitations with this roster that I accept and understand that this iteration of that team clearly is not going to be the perfect team in those areas that Rick Carlisle is going to want in the coming years. However, I would like to see more of turning the George Hill Shia LaBeouf moment into post All-Star break, being on the right end of things, playing that level of basketball that they closed the game with against Chicago. Mm-hmm. I want to see that growth. I don't need to see it with a win every time, but if it continues on the back end of the season where they're losing by like 15 or 20 a night, and there have been a ton of those this season, but if they're losing by double figures and it feels like they're lifeless, that would be a disappointing end of the season for me where I'm turning into Shia LaBeouf and getting very upset with where things are at.
Yeah, to me, it's if I say, man, I need to take out the trash, and then the next day I say, I need to take out the trash, and the next day I say, I need to take out the trash, my girlfriend is going to look at me at some point and be like, take out the freaking trash. Stop talking about it and actually do it. And that's where I'm at with the Pacers. And you brought up a good point. There are some limitations. Absolutely. Just the way they're constructed. So I think you can't have unrealistic expectations.
I don't think yours is unreasonable,
yeah.
But like
it's like prevent runouts.
Yeah.
Like don't have wide open shots that you're giving up routinely. That is a reasonable expectation. And if they're just talking about doing that stuff without doing it, I start to become a crazy person. And some of it is connected to the offensive end. They had 14 turnovers in the first half. 14.
We joked yesterday that you can bet race for 10, and the hosts that were in here yesterday, Brian King and Scott Agnes, Scott doesn't bet. I was joking about, if you think the Pacers are going to have a nice flow offensively, you can go race to 10. And then he texted me later that night, well, good thing I didn't do that because it was a flat out track meet for the Bulls. I will say, though, and why it gives me hope and why I hope it takes you off of the Shia LaBeouf rage is that people talked about, is George Hill going to get bought out? He's going to go somewhere else. You need experience, whether it is not in a large minutes role like Udonis Haslem in Miami, or whether it is a veteran player that's in the trenches with you. Either way, you need a voice sometimes to refocus in game a young team. Prime example, like you just said last night.
It is worth noting that they did give George Hill the option. He's like, hey, do you want us to buy you out? You can go wherever you want. And he said, no, I want to stay.
Yeah.
Also to note here, Pacers are 18, I wish they were 18, but they're 8-20 on the road. After the All-Star break, 11 of their first 15 games are on the road.
Wow. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, that's
sounds like you'll be playing that clip more.
Yeah, it's a lot on the road.
Hold.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be me. It's going to turn into a clip of me at some point. But yeah, that's the thing is, and Dave Revsine talked about it with the Hoosiers last night. In that first half, he's like, they just didn't look like they were ready to go. And if you think about the Pacers last night, losing 16 of 18, how? It blows my mind. How can you show up not ready to go? You should be foaming at the mouth at that stage. You just lost 16 of 18, man, and you're not facing DeRozan. How are you getting outscored by 24 immediately?
And on the Indiana side of front, at least for the Hoosiers anyway, to your point, and Eddie, I'm sure you have this. I don't have it in front of me because I don't have their rundowns, but they have had their struggles on the road this season as well. That's why I was so surprised and thrilled with the Michigan game on Saturday, because they came out and they knew the moment and they knew the level it was going to take to grind it out against. It wasn't pretty the whole way, but they didn't have that big lull where it took a massive comeback down 19 on the road at Michigan. Does that happen and they come back and tie the game up at Ann Arbor if they are down by 19? I don't know. Northwestern, I guess you can get away with that with how bad they shoot. But yeah, to your overall point, you want when a team has different expectations, Indiana Pacers and Indiana Hoosiers, but when you have these promises and these beliefs of, yes, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this, and that's the message all season, they don't show up on the road, it's magnified to your point with the Pacers when it's 16 of 18. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why, I don't know. I think there can come a time where you have unrealistic expectations. You just expect too much. And then I think there comes a time where you're just passive to a fault. You know what I mean? Like, if you've lost 16 of 18, and I don't want to bury the lead, which is they finally won, and that's great. But if you come back from a 24-point deficit, that tells me you're good enough that night to not fall down by 24 at home when you should be just doing everything to get a win. It was like,
is that a league-wide thing for you, by the way? Because I was watching it was Sixers and Cavs last night.
Go.
They were down 20 in the third.
Yeah, and they made a nice comeback.
They lost, but I came back. I went back to the IU game, came back. This is a 7-point game.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and whether that's the flows of players and the Pacers are too young to be lazy. They're not a veteran-laden team. But you see it all the time around the league of, what happened? Like, even a contender like Milwaukee, they fall asleep for a quarter and then, there they're back.
It's the NBA is psychotic, and that's part of the reason why I love it. But it goes back to Greg Popovich. Pop had it with his Spurs, and he's like, yeah, I know all that stuff. We're young and all, but it's getting old.
Yeah.
And he was like, if these guys want to win games, play some defense. That's it's true, right?
Yes.
Like, and so you saw the Pacers being able to do that last night. And it's like, we just need to see that more consistently. I'm not asking for them to be the top defense in the league because there are some limitations. Like, I was in the Portland area for 3 years doing local radio. And it's comparable in ways. When they had Dame and CJ in the backcourt, there are defensive limitations and liabilities galore.
Yep.
So you can't expect them to be one of the top defenses, but can they be a lot better than they were? Absolutely, on like a nightly basis. And that's what I see with the Pacers too.
To that end, and I haven't really asked you about this today, but I mentioned earlier that the Pacers kind of gave us fool's gold to start the year because they had a nice schedule and they came out swinging, and there were all these expectations for a season that was really going to be not have fun, but let's grow night in and night out. If it's another sub 500 season, okay, but just show me growth. Give me something to believe in. They come out of the gate swinging, and it's like, well, man, they're going to be a 4 or 5 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Where is your needle of that wave of excitement to where they've teetered out now? Is it disappointment? Is it, yeah, I guess this makes sense? Where are you at with all that?
With which
with
part
the
of it?
flow of them, of where they started to where they are now? Are you surprised at all they eventually teetered off, given how well they started? Or
I see what you're saying.
Like
Yeah.
some Pacers fans have frustration. Some are like, yeah, they're young.
I think that the beginning was mostly misleading.
Yeah.
I think they were playing over their heads. It's a little bit like, I don't know the best example. It's a little bit like Linsanity. Remember when Jeremy Lin just went ballistic for a couple of weeks, and then it was like, he's not that good. That's sort of what I thought team-wise for the Pacers. So, no, I never completely bought the hype. But, I mean, look at the Sacramento Kings. We've been waiting for the Kings to dip, and they just haven't.
They're not, and that's what's... I mean, that's why everybody said it's a win-win in that trade, right? Because you look at two franchises. Again, would the Pacers kill to be where they're at in Sacramento? Sure. But the Kings, I would argue, have a couple more playmakers, a couple more dynamic talent in that starting five than the Pacers do right now.
Yeah. By the way, I lost a bet. One of my friends in the offseason, he was like, you can pick any team in any sport to not make the playoffs for the next 3 years. And I thought for like 5 seconds, and I was like, give me the Sacramento Kings. And look at what they're doing this season. My goodness.
So you saved the Kings. If this ends up to a championship, are you going to submit a claim to be a part of the parade in Sacktown?
Yeah, right. No, I'm already out of that bet because what was it? I won the Eagles beating the Niners in the NFC championship game. So that canceled the bet out. So that was good. But not one of my finer moments with the Kings right there. All right, we got to close the show in style here, Jimmy. Yep. We got a little bit of time left. There is a fact related to Shane Steichen that absolutely blows my mind. And then I know you got some gambling picks for us.
Are you going to partake in that as well? I know I'm putting you on spot on air.
I could.
Okay.
I could.
You're welcome to. We open the door.
We can compare notes over here.
I'm all for it.
I haven't done crack research just yet, but I got a couple of minutes on my hands right now. We might be able to cook something up. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Window Nation has the coolest deal ever for keeping you warm. Get 2 windows free with every 2 you buy with 0 down payment, 0 monthly payments, and pay 0 interest for 24 months. Now is the perfect time to take advantage of Window Nation's deep discounts, all while reinvesting in your biggest asset. Not to mention the savings on your energy bills for years to come. Up to 43% of your home utility bill goes to heating and cooling. With new Window Nation windows, you can cut those energy bills during these cold winter months by keeping your hot air in and the cold air outside. Go with the window company that has installed over 1 million windows in over 150,000 homes, all with 96% customer satisfaction. Now is the time to upgrade the look and feel of your home, all while saving thousands on your energy bills. Call 866-90NATION and get 2 windows free with every 2 you buy with no limit, plus make no down payment, no payments, and pay no interest for 24 months. This offer won't last long. Call Window Nation today, 866-90NATION, or go to windownation.com. Tell them Kevin Bowen sent you.
To everyone who believes in tradition, let our team member Caitlin share one that's been at the heart of Culver's since the beginning.
In Wisconsin, we love a good fish fry, like really love. And bringing friends and family together over a fresh meal is how we've always done it at Culver's. It's why we still hand batter our North Atlantic cod to order and cook it to crispy golden perfection. Sharing our Wisconsin favorites with all of you, that's what really makes our day.
Come to Culver's and get a taste of our fish fry tradition.
From Wisconsin with love.
Welcome to Delicious. To everyone who needs a little delight in their day, let our team member Paul tell you about one of our favorite sweet treats.
Making special moments at mealtime is a tradition in Wisconsin. And what better way to sweeten your day than a blue spoonful of a Culver's concrete mixer? We handcraft our fresh frozen custard with your favorite mix-ins, so every bite is exactly the way you like. From caramel to your favorite candies like crispy, crunchy Butterfinger.
Come to Culver's and let us make your day a little bit sweeter. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
You don't have to go through yet another year with that knee pain or back pain. Hoosiers with chronic joint pain are getting real lasting relief from QC Kinetics. I'm Kevin Bowen, and you guys know QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine. Their unique protocols use healing agents from your own body to target aching joints, repairing and restoring damaged tissue so you can move again with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Got shoulder pain, excruciating hip pain. If you have any arthritis or pain lingering from another injury, don't let them tell you that steroids or surgery or pain pills are your only options. Call QC Kinetics, locations in Eagle Creek and Greenwood, and one coming to Carmel as well, and see if their life-changing, all-natural treatments can get you living your best life in the new year. This is the future of joint pain management, and appointments are available as soon as the next week. So make 2023 the year you say goodbye to joint pain. Call QC Kinetics today, 317-559-PAIN, Eagle Creek, Greenwood, and coming soon to Carmel. That is QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN.
Nobody's more proud of what Diamonds Direct offers than our own staff.
Our standards are the highest I've ever seen in the business, and I've been in this industry my entire life.
Not only do we have the most competitive pricing in the industry, but the whole package that you get with it is incomparable.
One thing that always surprises clients is how much further their budget will go with Diamonds Direct.
But way beyond value, what we're most proud of is our total commitment to each and every customer.
We go above and beyond for our customers so that they feel valued and they know that they're valued. We are really focusing on not making a sale that day. We want to make a friend forever.
It doesn't matter what size diamond that you're looking for. We're going to take care of you, and we're going to make you feel fabulous.
The philosophy to take care of the customer is just amazing.
When clients come in, I think what they can feel is our passion.
The electricity that you get in here, everybody's happy. It's such a friendly environment.
Diamonds Direct.
And you can feel that energy and that happiness every time you step into our showroom.
Come see and feel the difference. Your love, our passion. Get directions and store hours at diamondsdirect.com.
Will they find a home? Sponsored by Geico. Sarah wants a yard. My own little paradise. Brad, however, hates yard work.
The only thing I hate more than cutting the grass is paying someone to cut the grass.
Compromise is tough, but these two won't have to compromise when they bundle home and car insurance with Geico. It's easy, and they could save even more. In the end, Sarah and Brad found a great home with a yard. A very, very small yard.
Time to get it done. And I'm done.
Bundling without compromise at geico.com.
Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with their easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com.
ACC Hoops rivals North Carolina and North Carolina State meet in Raleigh, Sunday at 12:45 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Let's go. Make no excuses now. I'm talking here and now. I'm talking here and now. Let's go. Your time is running out.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's not about what you've done.
I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook here on The Fan. You know, there's a fact. I was going to say a stat. I don't know if it's really a stat, Jimmy, but there's a fact related to the new Colts head coach, Shane Steichen, that blows my mind. So Steichen, he's now the third youngest head coach in the NFL. Okay? So you start thinking, all right, well, who's younger than Steichen? So that would be Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell. Okay? He was just a rookie head coach last season. The other guy, Rams head coach Sean McVay. McVay is still younger than 37-year-old Shane Steichen. That is amazing to me. And maybe it shouldn't be, because I have to go back and look. He's like 32 or something when he was hired?
I think he was 30.
I have to go back and see.
Because I was looking at the other day, and I think he holds the record. I think he is the youngest head coach.
Yeah.
Whatever, modern era, whatever you want to call it, that's been hired as an NFL head coach. I think he was like 30 years and like 10 months.
I have to go back and look.
No, it's oddly specific, but I just looked at it yesterday. So
Did you really?
I think, because we were talking about, they hired a young coordinator. That's the flashy thing to do. Does it ever really pan out in the league? And I mean, it's been a hit or miss. It just depends on what your gauge is for success. I mean, McVay they won a Super Bowl, right? But I mean, they went all in for it, and now they're in shambles.
I don't
been
know.
There twice.
And the Colts play the Rams next season. But to me, the Rams are a sneaky team, because they were the walking wounded last season. You get Stafford back, you start to get Kupp back, you get Aaron Donald back. Like,
I'm not, again, I'll walk back. I'm not trying to write them off into the night like they can't recover if they improve in a couple areas, if they get those guys back. But you talk about your all-time, and that's what everybody points to. That's where the narrative went. Yeah, you went all in. Congrats on the championship. Look at your team. Did they have a ton of bad breaks all year? Absolutely.
It's still worth it, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely still worth it. Yeah, and McVay is 37 right now. He's just a few months younger. A few months younger than Shane Steichen. By the way,
they look like they're 20 years difference in age, by the way.
They do.
That just speaks to McVay.
They absolutely do. I don't know what it is. Is it the L.A. weather over there?
It's something.
I was thinking with Steichen, man, NFL life is real because you are on the grind. That is an old 37, right? Steichen, maybe it's the hair. Hair's going a little bit, but Steichen is an older looking 37.
When I don't, because you and I just talked about age, so I'm going to be careful here. I don't want to insult my co-host. I'll add a couple. I thought he was at least 50. At least in his 50s.
Steichen?
Yes.
Oh, man, yeah.
Like, I knew he was young, but visually, when you see him, I thought, it's got to be 50.
I thought he was 40, not 50.
40. Oh, man, I'm 40.
Are you intentionally calling out Brian right now?
You talking me or are you talking Steichen?
No, Steichen.
No, I meant that's why I avoided 40s because I...
Yeah. You know what's funny? I'll peek behind the curtain for the people listening, and God bless all of you great people. So...
we have 3 minutes to get the bets also.
We will. Very savvily. I don't know if that's a word.
I'll accept it.
Very, very savvily, maybe, pending results, if that's really a word. Jimmy Cook was trying to figure out my age and what the age difference was. And he goes, so Ball State, you graduate in the late 90s? Or I was like, 01. And I could tell he's kind of getting at it. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm 45. And he goes, yeah, I've hosted here with some older guys, and I just started laughing. He's like, no, guys that were like 50s, 60s, whatever. I'm an old man.
I don't
right
think
now.
40. I mean, I know it's variable person to person. Like, there's days where like, I'm really old, but I'm not. I'm 28 years old. But
you're a young buck.
But I don't view 45 as.
Oh, it's ancient.
You feel that way?
I might die tomorrow.
Yeah,
that might be it for me. I don't know. You might have to host the show solo tomorrow. I don't know. Okay, let's get to the bets over here.
The JCook Plays of the Day.
This is me, all right? I'm not a athlete. This is my way. This is how I win.
Today's Plays of the Day, keeping it simple, taking Purdue to win on the money line at Maryland tonight. Also, Zach Edey over 21.5 total points. Some bonus bets for you as well. I can't say back. We're going to say it's a nice return and a positive note. Top 20 finish for Tiger Woods this weekend at the Genesis Invitational, and then Rory McIlroy for a top 10 finish at that same tournament as well. 3-1 yesterday, 5-1 on the week. Plays on Twitter at the JCook. We got about 2 minutes. You like anything tonight, Brian?
Not bad. I didn't have a chance to look.
All right, it's okay.
You're peppering me.
I'm going to lay it. There's a lot of points here.
I bothered you during the break. That was my fault.
I'm going to take the over on Giannis. It's 34.5. A lot of juice here, but no Chris Middleton. No Pat Connaughton, so the offense will readily go through Giannis, who's got 36 and 45 against the Bulls already this year.
I will make up for it tomorrow. I'll have plays galore. By the way, your traffic annoyance, Dave Revsine was very, very excited about
Use
this
a bleeping
conversation.
turn signal. It's not hard.
Really? That's top of the list.
Because I don't mind being cut off.
Yeah.
But at least you attempt. Like, to be clear, I say I don't mind.
Yeah.
I get mad, but like, just let me know some way.
Right.
It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Flick the signal.
I have to sit here and wait while you turn without letting me know I could have gone. I hear you.
That's the biggest one. That and using a turn signal in a roundabout. You don't do it, people. You do not use a turn signal at a roundabout.
That's next level. That's advanced griping right there. You know, top of my list?
What is it?
Tailgate drivers. Freaking hate them.
Yeah.
I hate that. That's what drives me crazy. It's the most common. What I also
do you move or do you stay?
Oh, I stay.
I love it. I love it.
Oh,
yes.
Gosh. If you didn't give me enough time to get out of your way, you're going to pay the price now. If you were just cool and let me know subtly, okay, I'll get out of your way. Now you're going to pay for it. But also, when someone pulls out right in front of you and then immediately turns right in front of you, that's the double whammy right there. That is the double freaking whammy right there. Fun with you, Jimmy Cook. Good stuff.
Flew by. Minus you making me make the city mad at me about Peyton, but outside of that, it was good.
I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. There's going to be a riot after the show, no doubt.
I'm not going to get in my car.
Yeah, JMV coming up next. I'm Brian Noe. He's Jimmy Cook. Definitely keep it locked right here all day. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.